Chapter 839. Bo, me da ba 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 you. Immortal Palace Song, Night Chant. Tai Bai, listen to me, I beg you, change a place, there is a shop on the left, go there are a few people in his shop, even if we offend him, he won't dare to do anything to us, more than 400 people. You can't go to the blue sea silver sand, you can't go there, Tai Bai, let my family go, please. Su Gue pulled his brother-in-law with all his strength and begged, but he was slowly dragged by his brother-in-law to the blue sea silver sand. My husband, the blue sea silver sand also has shops in province. It is said that they are all over the Tang Empire, and it is as famous as Between the Clouds and the Water. Some people even say that both are backed by the Zhang family and the Wang family. Their family recruited more than 400 people to seek a way to make money, and if they offend the Zhang family and the Wang family, we can't stop them. Seeing that her brother was not as strong as her husband, Madame Su also went to persuade him. Among the more than 400 people gathered here, those who knew the situation showed anger on their faces. Li Bai is too unreasonable, he wants to die, but he wants to implicate us. I don't know what the Su family did to find such a son-in-law, sigh. The people around nodded and echoed, their voices buzzing. Li Bai, who was about to find a good place for the 400 people, stopped when he heard the noise. He turned his head and stared at the person who made the noise first until the person lowered his head. Then he snorted and said, "You are a benefactor, you don't have to bear the anger of others, humph." The person who made the noise just now lowered his head, he knew that Li Bai was scolding him. On the way here from province, Li Bai had been helping to organize. When they met, he always said that he met Li Bai, that he met a benefactor, but others said that he was a fickle villain. Su Gui's face was also hot, he said to Li Bai embarrassedly, Tai Bai, I didn't think so, but the blue sea silver sand is unusual, have you heard of anyone who dares to make trouble at the blue sea silver sand? How can we let more than 400 people live in the blue sea silver sand for nothing? Zhang Wang is noble, like the convergence of the sea, not tired of the trickle of water. Today, the solid has become great. The Zhang family and Wang family are wise. Now, I will put up a bounty. I will help my fellow villagers find a home. Li Bai looked at the banner hanging outside the restaurant that offered a reward for writing poems and essays, and then walked forward. Su Gue wanted to stop him again, but his sister stopped him. Brother, let our husband try. Maybe, even if he doesn't succeed, the jade sea silver sand will not stoop to our level. Sigh. Su Gue sighed. In the end, he did not continue to drag Li Bai. He watched as his brother-in-law strode into the blue sea silver sand with his head held high. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the sky was covered with dark clouds, and the wind was blowing, threatening to destroy the city. Su Gue had an anxious expression on his face. He told the people from his hometown not to wander around so as to avoid causing trouble. Smelling the salty smell of the wind, he looked at the blue sea silver sand restaurant from time to time. Mrs. Su was also anxious. She was afraid that her husband would be detained in the restaurant if he was careless. Although there had never been a case of bullying in the Zhang family and Wang family's restaurant. After a while, the sky became darker, and the wind became weaker. Suddenly, there was a crackling sound around. Everyone felt that it was easier to breathe, and raindrops appeared on their faces. At this moment, 4 waiters came out of the blue sea silver sand restaurant. They looked at Su Gui's direction and hurried forward. One of them asked, "Are you the Su family of Anzhou?" "That's right, young man." "Did Tai Bai jinxing cause trouble in the building?" "If he broke something, we are willing to compensate." Su Gui's heart skipped a beat. He thought that something had gone wrong. He put his hand into his sleeve to feel for money. He could not leave his brother-in-law alone. Sure enough, it is Mr. Su. Mr. Su, His Highness has asked for you. The people who came with you have already made room. You can rest at any time. Mr. Su, do you want them to settle you down now? The waiters confirmed the identity and invited Su Gue. They pointed to the courtyard behind the blue sea silver sand and waited for Su Gue to make a decision. Su Gue suddenly found that everything around him was far away from him. He was the only one standing between heaven and earth. He turned and turned until the sun and moon lost their light. He was in a daze. His body swayed twice before he found that he had returned to the mortal world. The sky was still the same, but the rain was heavier. Is my husband, Tai Bai, okay? Su was calmer than her brother. She stepped forward and asked. The waiters were told to be polite. They looked at Su and said with a smile, "Are you the young lady of the Su family?" Young Master Li is talking happily with His Highness Liu. The rain is heavy now. Can you take shelter first? Please, young man. Su heard that her husband was fine. She was relieved and made the decision. More than 400 people were divided into 6 courtyards in confusion. It was a little crowded, but they settled down. Su Gue, who had recovered, carefully told the people who followed him to control their food. The food in the blue sea silver sand was good, but they should not get sick. They should not do things they should not do. They should not break other people's things. They should not go out casually. They should be polite to the people in the restaurant. After all this, Su Gue followed his sister upstairs to see how his brother-in-law was doing. He did not want to offend the people in the imperial family by drinking too much. When the two of them were brought to the 3rd floor by the waiter, they walked up another floor. When they arrived at the highest room in the entire restaurant, they heard a familiar clanking sound coming from inside. It sounded like someone was knocking on plates and bowls with chopsticks. Before the waiters went to knock on the door, 2 people sang from inside. Thunder rolls on the windowsill. The heavy rain carries me to the blue sky. Peng Lai has 1,000 cups of wine. The immortals eat outside the mountain. Calling my heart, flying across 9,000 mountains on a crane, confusing my eyes. When I wake up, I am drunk, and when I am happy. Rhyme does not belong to the mortal world. This is Chang Yi's face in the moon. Stepping on the snow without any trace, waving my hand to plant a green lotus. Tai Bai, drink. Today's wine is hidden by Xiao Bao for 7 years. I am happy. There is another jar. Let's drink it. I am so annoyed these days. When the Blackwater Commandery was not famous, no one was willing to come here. After the canned food and several mines appeared, people rushed to come here. Drink. Su Gue and Su stood outside and listened to the singing. They did not dare to go in and disturb them. At this time, they heard a voice. It seemed that the speaker was not old. The waiters did not lock the door. They guessed that the 2 people inside were almost drunk. They quietly opened the door and motioned Su Gue and Su Gue to go in. He turned around and went downstairs. It was very dark under the dark clouds. There were no candles in the room. Only the flashes of lightning outside occasionally illuminated the whole earth. Su Gue and Su Gue stood close to the wall and did not say anything. They just watched. They saw a man about the same age as Tai Bai holding a bowl in his hand. He was complaining. Madame Su watched as her husband sat across from that person and drank as well. There were a few cans on the table, and there was a smell of meat that was neither braised nor smoked. It smelled very fragrant, and it should be the canned food that she had only heard about on the way here, but had never seen before. Tai Bai, don't you think that those people are too unreasonable? Eat. This bamboo tube contains flying dragon. It is about the same size as a chicken, but smaller than a chicken. It tastes good. Before I came here, Xiao Bao personally cooked it for me. Ordinary people can't eat it. Come, drink the wine in the bowl and then pour it. Li Yu's eyes were blurred, but he did not forget to drink and eat. Li Bai was almost drunk. In a short time, the two people drank 3 pounds of wine in a very small jar. The jar was engraved with the word specially provided. Next to it, another jar had just been opened. It seemed that he was ready to drink. Su Gui sniffed and whispered to his sister, "Good wine. It is soft but not greasy, strong but not hot. Tai Bai is going to enjoy it." At this time, Li Bai drank the wine according to Li Yu's words. He picked up a flying dragon, took 2 bites, spat out a bone, and poured the wine again. Then he grabbed a washed cucumber dipped in sauce and took a bite. With a happy expression, he echoed Li Yu and said, "Mediocre people in the world are troublesome. It is good to drink in a golden cup. People's hearts are difficult. Far away, drink and laugh. Macho, macho, I'll help you. Drink, what wine is this? It's delicious." Li Yu was tongue-tied and muttered, "Pure barley wine, 7 years in the cellar." The wine made by the Zhang family and Wang family has been in the cellar for 12 years at most. There is a lot of wine, but they don't take it out for others to taste. Tai Bai, my task is to find more people to write poems in Penglai. Those who write well will travel with those who draw well and then write when they come back. Help me write a few more poems, and I'll introduce you to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. They are busy and have no time to write poems. Okay, drink. Sleepwalking is dark, but the water is not dark. White snow is decorated with red plum blossoms. Fairies can't help but fall into the pot. They make a pile of mistakes in the human world. Suddenly smelling a fragrance, they come on the clouds and are unwilling to return. In the 9th day, the gong calls 10,000 times, leaving the purple flute and jade people blow. Li Bai rarely had a chance to contact the upper-class people. Naturally, he worked hard. After a few words, he drank half a bowl of wine. The wine that he drank first came back. He put his legs on the chair next to him, grabbed the back of the chair with one hand, and held the empty bowl with the other. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the rain outside the window. It was getting heavier and heavier. He didn't say anything for a long time. Li Yu didn't want to disturb him. He drank slowly and tried to remember what Li Bai said just now. When he felt that he couldn't remember, he said to the people outside, "Someone, ask some girls to come in and sing. Great talent, I met a great talent." When a few women came in from outside, they curiously looked at the 2 people standing against the wall and sang what Li Bai had just said. Li Yu drank the wine in his bowl and shouted a few times to the beat. When he wanted to pour more wine, he found that there were double images everywhere. Just now it was 1 Tai Bai. Now it's 2. It means that I drank too much. I can't drink anymore. Tai Bai, Tai Bai. Li Ji murmured incoherently. In his last moments of consciousness, he called Li Bai twice. Then, his head fell on the table and he fell into a deep sleep. The bowl in Li Bai's hand also fell down and hit the table with a soft sound. Then, both of them fell silent, leaving only the women singing over and over again in the rain. The next morning, Li Yu opened his eyes and saw that he was lying on the bed. Beside him was a servant girl. She was guarding the charcoal stove and pouring water into the pot. How many years have I been drunk? Li Yu still hadn't recovered from the scene of drinking with Li Bai yesterday. He kept talking in an exaggerated manner. The servant girl laughed and replied, "Young Master Li, are you asking about the immortal palace or the mortal world below? Since you're awake, try the hangover soup made by the Queen Mother of the West. After drinking it, you'll wake up. Thank you, Fairy. What about Li Bai? Li Yu took the soup the servant girl brought over and took a sip. It was neither cold nor hot. He raised his head and drank it all. Immortal Li went to the Dragon Palace. He left a message for you. The servant girl picked up a piece of paper from the small table and handed it to Li Yu. Li Yu took a look. Sure enough, it said, Jean Yuliang of the Dragon Palace of the East Sea invites me to drink. After 10,000 cups of wine, I return on the waves. The Phoenix girl wears a red dress on the West Mountain. You can drink more than me. Li Yu rubbed his stomach and asked the servant girl to help him put on his clothes. He went outside to take a look. Your Highness, is Tai Bai here? Li Yu walked out for a while and met Su Gui, who was looking for him anxiously. Yesterday, the two of them drank too much and were carried away by the servants. Su Gui and Li Yu didn't intervene. They planned to leave today for fear that they would delay things. Li Yu handed the paper left by Li Bai to Su Gui and said, he went to the beach to drink and will come back at sunset. He said on the paper. Su Gui looked carefully and whispered, Your Highness, what did it say on the paper? So stupid. Do you really think he can go to the Dragon Palace of the East Sea? He went to the beach in the east to drink and will come back at sunset in the West Mountain. I already know that you are from province. Don't worry. After Tai Bai stays for a few days, I will take you to Jili province. I will ask Xiao Bao to arrange a good job for you in Blackwater. Oh, I will be in charge of Blackwater's governor's mansion in the future. I will arrange it. If it weren't for Li Bai, Li Yu wouldn't have said so much to Su Gui. Penglai was not a place he was in charge of, so he didn't need to be so kind. He still had to put on airs. Su Gui also understood that the status gap was a little big, so he didn't dare to ask more. He thanked him again and hurried to the place where more than 400 people lived. He told them the good news, otherwise they would always be worried. Once Su Gui was far away, Li Yu shook his head, which was still a little confused. As he walked back, he said, I met a great talent. I have to write to Xiao Bao and Huan Huan to tell them. Children were playing, and the mountains were noisy. The sun shone through the thin fog, the dew and green leaves hung their heads shyly, and the green grass and flowers were delicate. The tea house by the road was boiling warm water. Suddenly, people waved and laughed. On the mountain outside Enyang County in Jili province, Xiao Bei led a large group of people. She carried a bamboo basket on her back and carried tools in her hand. Early in the morning, she began to pick two kinds of wild vegetables, root vegetables and cat ears. When the sun was high in the sky, she came back with a full harvest. The people behind her helped her pick up the wild vegetables from time to time. When she arrived at the tea stall at the intersection, Xiao Bei, who was full of strength just now, did not do anything. She took out a small note from her bag and didn't let the people make tea. She just watched the people in the tea stall wash the bowls and pour a bowl of water for each of them. She breathed hard and tried to drink it. Today we are going back to the prefecture. After my brother and sister finish the examination, we will go to Jinan province to be officials and pick vegetables. Then we will ride a horse and go back to ask my brother to make a root vegetable box. Xiao Bei, who was thinking about being a parent official, began to assign tasks after she was no longer thirsty. Everyone immediately got busy at the tea stall. Everyone was very serious. Even Xiao Hai, who did not care much about things, was looking forward to what would happen after he became an official. When a group of little guys finished picking the wild vegetables and left enough for the people in the tea stall to eat, it was already afternoon when they rode back to the prefecture. A carrier pigeon flew from Penglai along with them. Zhang Xiaobao first comforted his brother and sister, asked them to rest and eat the box at night. Then he took the letter and went back to the room with Wang Wan to read it. Opening the letter, Zhang Xiaobao glanced up and suddenly froze. He and Wang Wan, who also saw the letter, looked at each other and said tacitly, "Li Bai jumped out." "What do you mean by jump?" "Li Bai is not young." Wang Wan refuted Zhang Xiaobao. "You just said it. Why did he go to Pinglai? It seems that it will not take too long to see him. Many people praise him. Do you think he will ask for an official position from us?" Zhang Xiaobao also had a little yearning for this figure. It was not that Li Bai had a lot of prestige now, but after all, he was a legendary figure. He could not meet him for too long. Wang Wan nodded and said, "Yes, we should take a look. And that Wang Wei, now he is also an official in the capital. When will we get together and see who can write better poems? I guess Li Bai will ask for an official position from us. He only needs our help to recommend him. Although he is very powerful in history, it is very difficult for him to be an official now." "Then do you want to help?" "It is said that he does not want to take the imperial examination. Otherwise, he would have come to take the imperial examination." "Why?" Zhang Xiaobao hesitated. He was afraid that if he helped to recommend Li Bai would drink too much. It might be difficult for others to recommend him, but if he and Wang Wan recommended him, Li Longji would definitely value it very much. If Li Bai drank too much in the imperial court and scolded people he caught, others would definitely say that he should not have recommended him. If things went wrong, he would be impeached. Wang Wan read the letter again and thought about it for a while before saying, "Li Bai couldn't pass the imperial examination. The imperial examination doesn't just require one to be able to write poems. There are other requirements as well. Otherwise, why would we need to work so hard to learn? He wants people to look for him like they look for a hermit. The most suitable era for such a person is the spring and autumn period. What is important is the strength of character. When it comes to planning, those who are capable will succeed. Those who are not will disappear in the long river of history." "Oh, now that you mention it, I understand. It's just like the graduate students at our time. Many of them have no real ability. After graduation, they don't want to work in a small place. They want to work in a big place, but they don't want to work there. They always look like they have talent but don't want to work there." When Zhang Xiaobao heard Wang Wan's words, he gave an example. "Who knows? After all, there's too little information in the book, and it's too old. We'll see when we meet him. If he's capable, we'll arrange for him to be an official. He actually wants to be an official who can talk to Li Longji in court. Let's arrange for him to be a county magistrate first." Wang Wan was also in a difficult position. She did not have a direct impression of Li Bai. The only impression in her mind was that Li Bai was good at writing poems. Chapter 840. After staying in Penglai for 3 days, Li Bai was the first one who couldn't stay. He wanted to see Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan as soon as possible. First, he wanted to see the two legendary people with his own eyes. Second, he wanted them to recommend him. In the 3 days, in order to satisfy Liu, Li Bai wrote a lot of poems and drank a lot of wine. He had a good time with a group of literati who were attracted by the high reward. Liu planned to let the literati quarrel with each other according to the original idea of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. However, because of Li Bai's participation, he wrote a few good poems in succession. Many people began to agree with the Blackwater governor's mansion. It was almost one-sided. Very few people have been to the Blackwater governor's mansion. They didn't know the specific situation there at all. However, it was imaginable that people with good literary talent would write a poem or an essay. People with good painting skills would also draw snowy scenes according to the appearance of winter in other places. With Wang Wan's painting of the fog, it also gave them a reference to imitate and sublimate. Li Yu chose a good painting and hung it up. Within 3 days, Penglai became the focus of a special discussion about the Blackwater Governor's Mansion. Anyone who came to Penglai found that if they didn't talk about the Blackwater Governor's Mansion, it seemed that they couldn't keep up with the times. Seeing that the general trend was set, Li Yu didn't plan to continue to waste time in Penglai. He arranged a few clever people to be in charge of the next publicity matters. After several hints from Li Bai, he finally took more than 400 people from Anzhou to Jili State by boat. The boat sailed for half a day. At noon, Li Yu set up a banquet on the bow of the boat. He found Li Bai and continued to drink. He wanted to discuss with Li Bai about going to the Blackwater Governor's Mansion to help him. Li Bai gladly accepted the banquet. He was addicted to the past 3 days. He knew that the wine and dishes of Bihai Yin Sha were good before. Unfortunately, he didn't dare to go to the 3rd floor. At most, he was invited to the 2nd floor by others. The wine and dishes he ordered were not so expensive. There was a big difference in the price of good wine and bad wine. In the past 3 days, Li Bai had been drinking white wine and red wine back and forth, and was flattered by other people who were not as good as Li Bai in literary talent. Li Bai felt as if he was not in this world. The wind blew from the surface of the sea, bringing with it the salty smell of the sea. In the distance, the fishing boat chased the direction of the circling seabirds. The sun shone on the waves, sparkling endlessly, making Li Bai, who had never really been out to sea, have a different feeling in his heart. Tai Bai, when we meet Xiao Bao and Cuckoo after we return to Jili province, I guess they will let you follow me to the Blackwater Commander-in-Chief Mansion. What kind of job do you want to do? Li Yu asked Li Bai while he was waiting for the rice wine to start boiling. He added some ginger, salt, and sugar into the jar from time to time. When Li Bai heard Li Yu's words, he hesitated for a moment and asked, "Can I work for Provincial Governor Zhang and Adjunct Wang?" Li Yu blinked and felt a little uncomfortable. He understood what Li Bai meant. Li Bai just wanted to work for someone with great ability and then enter the imperial court. When they were talking yesterday, he told Li Bai that his recommendation would not be of much use now. He thought that Li Bai was preparing to take another path. Li Yu pondered for a moment and was really angry. He was indeed not as good as Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. When he saw Li Bai was still waiting for a reply, he thought for a moment and said, "Tai Bai, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo also like poetry, but only a little. They prefer to do practical things. They began to learn how to do things when they were in Sanshui County. When they came to Luzhou, they had a lot of opportunities to practice. Tai Bai, why don't you follow me to the Blackwater Commander-in-Chief Mansion first? You can get used to the feeling of being an official, sort out the accounts, and organize the people to work. When it's time, you can go to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo." Li Bai felt a little regretful. He thought for a moment and said, "All right. What do they like?" "They like money. Xiao Bao likes to make money and spend money. Cuckoo likes to turn money into an army. The more soldiers she can control, the happier she is." Many officials in the imperial court say that they are too tacky, but they are using their things. They are happy that they have a high-ranking membership in the Savants Pavilion and the Joy House. You can't help them in this regard. Li Yu knew that Li Bai wanted to cater to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's interests. Unfortunately, ordinary people could not help much with the things that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo liked. Only the imperial uncle could help a little in terms of policy. That was the return of their efforts. As expected, Li Bai was worried. He picked up a tune bean and threw it into his mouth and chewed slowly. Then, he asked, "Do Provincial Governor Zhang and Adjunct Wang have any other ideas about Tubo and its surrounding areas?" I know a little about it. Well, you can talk to them about it when the time comes. Li Yu really did not have the heart to attack Li Bai in this regard. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo certainly had ideas about Tubo. Not only did they have ideas, but they had also made practical actions. It was good to let Li Bai talk to them. Maybe he could really provide them with a new idea. Li Yu looked at the boiling wine and felt that it was almost ready. He scooped out 2 bowls and said to Li Bai, Tai Bai, although Xiao Bao and Cuckoo seem to be young, they know a lot of things. They don't like things that are too vague. Remember, try to be practical when the time comes. Of course. After hearing Li Yu's words, Li Bai was a little nervous and answered. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were also thinking about how to arrange Li Bai. Li Bai is coming. What position do you think we should arrange for him? I know that he's ambitious, but we can't just assign him the position of Prime Minister. Even if we do, Li Longji won't accept it. There are still 2 prime ministers in the imperial court. Zhang Shuo hasn't stepped down yet. According to history, he's finished. Sigh, it's all because we helped him. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he used a pen to write a poem on a piece of paper. The moonlight before the bed is bright. Wang Wan looked at Zhang Xiaobao's poem and smiled. Why did you think of writing this poem? Who knows what Li Bai can do? We have to wait until we meet him to know what he is capable of. I hope that he is really capable. That way, he can do more things. Zhang Xiaobao changed a piece of paper and wrote on it, those who abandoned me, yesterday. Draw a knife to break the water, water flows faster. Raise a cup to drown sorrow, sorrow grows more sorrowful. After he finished writing, he sang, yesterday is like the east flowing water, leaving me far away. Today, my heart is full of worries. Draw a knife to break the water, water flows faster. Raise a cup to drown sorrow, sorrow grows more sorrowful. Tomorrow, the first part of this poem from more than 100 years ago was changed according to his poem. I think, if we really arrange for him to be an official, and he really does it well, then will there still be a poem like the one we have read before? You see, Su Shi is not bad. If his official career continues to be so good, will there still be Dompa Pork? Will there still be a misty reign of Renpingxing? Li Bai is the same. So is the pleasures of the world. Since ancient times, all things flow to the east. Will such a sentence disappear? Zhang Xiaobao was worried about this matter. Wang Wan shook her head and held Zhang Xiaobao's hand, saying, so you wrote, the moonlight before the bed is bright, right? Because this poem is the most difficult to understand. Whether the bed is a bed to sleep on or a bench to sit on is very controversial. It's like the Lang Lang riding a bamboo horse, circling the bed to play with green plums. In fact, it's nothing. Even if Li Bai couldn't write so many unsatisfactory poems, I think he could write another kind of poem. Li Shimin and Li Longji both wrote poems. Many famous court officials also wrote good poems that were passed down. A real poet can write at any time, just like how people in our time like to write diaries. Words are a kind of carrier. No matter what kind of feeling or mood, they can be written. It's just that some people use it well and write comfortably. Xan Qiji is a general. Didn't he also write looking for him in the crowd 1,000 times? It's useless to think so much. The sooner we meet Li Bai, the sooner we see what he can do and make arrangements. After all, he can be considered a celebrity. Okay, recite a few more of Li Bai's poems for me. I'll remember them. If he dares to recite poems to me when he gets here, I'll bully him to death. If not, I'll let Xiao Yuan do it. In a few days, Xiao Bei and the others will be sent to Jian and to be officials. Most of them have migrated. Let's see how they manage with so few people. When I went to teach them yesterday, I just arrived. Guess what happened to me? Zhang Xiaobao was happy when he talked about his younger siblings. This group of little guys had their own personalities. It was not easy for them to be so harmonious together. What happened to you? Tell me. Did Xiaobei bully you again? Wang Wan was curious. No, after Xiao Yuan memorized the rhymes of the old man and the book of songs, he started to compose. When I went there, Xiao Yuan was reciting poems to Xiaobei. I don't know how long he had been holding it in, but he finally came up with a 7-line poem. It was so funny, ha 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 ha. Zhang Xiaobao laughed so hard that he squatted on the ground. Wang Wan blinked and had a look of disbelief. Really? Tell me, what's the 7-line poem that Xiao Yuan wrote? What can he write? Don't be fooled by how much he memorized. If he really wrote it, it would be like a nursery rhyme. Then tell me quickly. Okay. Zhang Xiaobao responded and began to imitate Xiao Yuan. Baby, look at how round the moon is tonight. I suddenly had an idea. Ha, I'm dying of laughter. Hee hee, what happened after that? Wang Wan also laughed. After that, our Xiaobei said, Xiao Yuan, are you sick? Today is the 6th day of the new year. Find me a full moon for me to see. I can't take it anymore. Zhang Xiaobao laughed again after saying that. Wang Wan pursed her lips hard, her face red. Zhang Xiaobao continued to imitate Xiao Yuan. When the heart is round, the moon will be round. I composed a poem, Ode to the Moon. It's about the moon. Then praise it. I'm hungry and want to eat the eggplant box. I'll get someone to make it. After you praise it, I'll send it to you. Zhang Xiaobao imitated Xiaobei's voice again. Wang Wan listened to Zhang Xiaobao's words and pinched her thigh hard. And then Xiao Yuan pulled Xiaobei and didn't let her go. He promised her many benefits and promised his 11 bodyguards to let Xiaobei give orders. Only then did Xiaobei reluctantly stay and listen. You don't even know what Xiao Yuan's poem is. Let me rest. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he actually fell to the ground and rolled around with all his might. Wang Wan didn't urge him anymore. She tried her best not to be like Zhang Xiaobao. After a while, Zhang Xiaobao stopped with a grimace and a pained expression on his face. Calm down. You have to calm down. If you keep laughing, my intestines will break. Listen, Xiao Yuan said, the moon last night wasn't round. Today, the moon is round again. The river of stars has fallen to the vaguest tears. The moon once floated on the sea of stars. Not to mention that it's not easy to build a bridge, it's difficult to watch a jade hair pound medicine. Immortals have their own hardships, but mortals can sleep together. Xiaobei, are you sleepy? Go to sleep. You lean against the wall. I'll be outside you to block the wind. Xiaobei said, stay away from me. It's colder when you say it. I'm really going to eat. Do you want to eat? If not, I won't bring more for you. Ha ha ha. Another day, Li Bai's ship finally docked at the dock of Jili province. When they were on the ship, they were very curious about this place. It was said that Jili province used to be poor, but it became rich after Governor Zhang and Army Commander Wang came. Seeing was believing. They didn't know how poor Jili province used to be, but now they saw how prosperous it was. Anzhou was located north of the Yangtze River. There was a big river flowing into the river. Many people came and went, so it was quite prosperous. It was much better than several places in the west. It was often said that the north was bitterly cold, but now it didn't seem to be bitterly cold at all in Jili province. At the wharf of Jili, people came and went. Bearers shouted as they unloaded sacks of goods from ships coming from other places, and carried them to a spacious place on the shore, where there were innumerable carts and horses. Every time a cart was loaded, it would leave. On the shore, there were many restaurants and inns. There were rows of restaurants and tea shops. There was even a long street full of people hawking their wares. Once again, Liu warned Li Bai, who had a curious look in his eyes. Xiao Bao and Wan like to make a poor place rich, so that the people can live a good life. Usually, they are more willing to listen to a commoner talk about how good life is at home, than to hear about whether the immortals will come or not. Wherever the Zhang and Wang families have been officials, the people do not worship the gods or gods. Wherever the Zhang and Wang families have been officials, the people do not worship the gods or gods. Wherever the Zhang and Wang families pass by, the people smoke. If you manage to improve the lives of the people in a certain place and obtain a real reputation, you don't need to look for Xiao Bao and Wan Wan. The two of them will take the initiative to look for you and arrange a higher official position for you. Li Bai was really shocked by what he saw. He looked around and asked doubtfully, "Why don't I see any children? Can they really arrange an official position for someone? They are in school." "Don't you have a school in Anzhou?" Liu asked. "I never cared. No one mentioned it." Li Bai really didn't care about this kind of thing. Madame Su, who was standing next to him, whispered in his ear, "My husband, it is the same in Anzhou. My father sends a few thousand to the school every month to participate in the Chaoyang mission. My husband is busy and doesn't know." These words made Li Bai's face turn red and then white. He suddenly remembered what Liu said. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo liked people who did things. When they met and asked, he couldn't say it. Wouldn't he lose a good opportunity? Liu said, "If Xiao Bao and Cuckoo want to arrange an official position for someone, it is too easy. The 9 children of the 2 families are now secondary class, rank 4 civil officials. There are even rank 7 or 8 official positions in their hands. Tai Bai needs to work hard." Li Bai nodded repeatedly. He wanted to find Su Gue and ask him more about specific things, especially things related to the people's livelihood. "I will send someone to send a letter to Xiao Bao and let them know in advance." As Liu spoke, he waved his hand and called someone over. He gave a few instructions and the person quickly left. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't wait for Liu's letter. Instead, they waited for 3 pieces of bad news. The 3 pieces of news arrived almost at the same time, not a quarter of an hour apart. One came from the Mud River, one from the capital, and one from the Jiangnan East Road merchants on horses. The 3 letters were placed on the table. Zhang Xiaobao's expression was not very good. He looked at Wang Wan and pointed to the letter on the left. The news from the capital says that the Tujua people suddenly gathered and headed north. They sent a letter to Li Longji saying that they are willing to be officials and that Li Longji should send people to govern there. Li Longji was obviously unhappy. If the people were gone, who would be the officials sent to govern? It seems that the left virtuous Prince Ke Tichin is still not reconciled. He would rather migrate in the cold north than truly submit to the Tang Empire. What do you think we should do? Wang Wan bit her lip and exhaled heavily through her nose. Is there a mountain over there? It's not easy to cross the mountain. I don't have time to deal with them now. I'll let them suffer more. When I'm done with Xinluo, I'll see if they are really determined to be hostile. The second letter says that Xinluo is causing trouble at the Mud River on our side. The people of Xinluo are unwilling to clear the river and have gathered there to obstruct the construction. This is the attitude of the Xinluo king. Now there are many mountains and few plains. Do you think we should fight? If we fight, I will mobilize the army immediately. After talking about the second letter, the 2 of them looked at the third letter. This letter was written by a merchant from the Jiangnan East Road. There were many big ships in Japan, and they wanted to cooperate with the local merchants to explore overseas. They wanted to freely dock at Xinyuan Island and resupply. Why do I feel that they have discussed this beforehand? Don't worry about the Japanese. Tell the merchants in the Jiangnan East Road not to cooperate with the Japanese. Otherwise, there will be no good results. If the Japanese want to explore, they can go by themselves. I don't believe that their ships can reach Molucca without our help. The Turkic matter is not urgent. That place is not suitable for survival. If they dare to go north, they will freeze to death. Didn't they give up the place? Tell our people in Fengzhou to organize armed guards and invite other merchants to enter the Turkic area together and open up pastures. Zhang Xiaobao tapped his face with his hand. Wang Wan knew that he was really angry. Some people would not cry until they saw the coffin. So we have to take care of Xinluo now. Yes, Xinluo. We don't need to gather too many soldiers. 3,000 is enough. The two of us will go and take a look first. If we can solve it without using force, then we won't fight. However, the river must be connected. Otherwise, we will have to go around a large bay to transport goods. Zhang Xiaobao clenched his teeth. Chapter 841. You're not allowed to dig. If you dig through the river, you'll break the vein. We won't have a good life in the future. You can't dig. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan stood on the west bank of the muddy river, watching the place where the muddy river was supposed to be excavated stop. They could clearly hear the reason that the people who were obstructing the construction were shouting. I hate people who use such means for their own selfish interests. The saddest thing is that many people who don't understand things are incited to make trouble. Xiaobao, who do you think doesn't want the river to be dug through the most? Wang Wan didn't need to ask anyone. Looking at the situation in front of her, she knew what was going on in her heart. Zhang Xiaobao, who was standing beside Wang Wan, took out the fishing rod he brought and walked to a place where they could rest. He slowly put the fishing rod on and said, "The road is really difficult to walk on. It took half a month to come here from Jili province. I didn't even get to meet Li Bai. Let's repair the road from Jili province to here. You don't dare to meet Li Bai. You're afraid that the character in your heart will suddenly fall into the mortal world. Who will pay for the road repair?" Wang Wan said Zhang Xiaobao's thoughts. In fact, she was the same. Seeing that she was about to meet Li Bai, she suddenly felt that if Li Bai was too close to her, she would lose the cultural sustenance that she once had. He hung the bait and swung the fishing rod. With a swoosh, the lead fell into the water with the fishing line. Then, he gently flicked the small bell on the rod. Zhang Xiaobao smacked his lips twice and felt that it was tasteless. According to the analysis in Li Ji's letter, Li Bai's poems are not bad in the future. But now, I haven't seen what great abilities he has. It's better to miss him than to meet him. Xiao Bei and the others will go to Jian and with Li Bai to be officials and see how he is. As for the road repair, our Xingjing construction group will do it. We will greet all the caravans that travel between Xinluo and the Great Tang. They will pay a portion of the money and take up 30%. In the future, any caravan that passes under their banner will not be charged any fees, nor will they need to pay any maintenance fees. In a while, I'll get someone to contact them to build a narrower road. It will cost a lot less money. If they think it's expensive, they can join forces and take 10% of the money. My initial estimate is that the road will cost 10 million strings of cash. As long as they pay 1 million, they can enjoy huge benefits in the future. Zhang Xiaobao said 10 million strings of cash as though it was 1,000 yuan. It was very easy. Wang Wan was confused by her words. Now that the river is blocked, you want to build a road. Bored? It's not like you don't know the situation at home. Where are you going to find 10 million strings of cash? In another 10 years, maybe you won't continue to spend money and you'll be able to satisfy your current needs. You and I know how much cash the family has. Others don't know. Our family has so many businesses. In the hearts of others, we are as rich as a country. If I shout that I use money to fill up the East Sea, there will be people who will believe me. Zhang Xiaobao loaded another fishing rod and said to Wang Wan with a smile. Wang Wan frowned and thought hard, but she could not figure out why Zhang Xiaobao would talk about the land route instead of solving the problem of the water route at the border. Looking at the tributaries that flowed down from the mountain and gathered in the mud river, she asked, "What should we do about the matter in front of us? Let's do it together. The Turks are going north, and Japan is going to follow them. Something has happened in Xinluo. I keep feeling that there's some connection between them. Is it because we haven't made a move for a long time that people think that we've changed from wolves to wolves? If we don't let them suffer a little, they'll really be able to overturn the sky." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he saw that the fish did not take the bait for a long time. He took out a nest for small fish and opened it in front of him. Then, he took out 2 soy sauce pig kicks and gave one to Wang Wan. She held it and began to gnaw on it. Wang Wan ate a few mouthfuls and spat out the bones into the nest. "Didn't you write a letter to the people of Jiangnan East Province not to let them participate in Japan? Are you going to change your mind? If you change, you'll be a good comrade. If you don't cooperate with them, you can sell the sea map to the Japanese. There are many things at sea: storms, reefs, whirlpools, and pirates. I hope that the Japanese brothers can find the continent of hope in their hearts safely. Amen." Zhang Xiaobao ate quickly, but he did not eat too cleanly. He ate a large piece of meat into his stomach and stuffed the bones that still had a lot of meat into the nest. He rubbed his hands on his body casually and said with a smile. Wang Wan curled her lips and stopped eating. She tore off the meat and wrapped it in oil paper. The bones were given to Zhang Xiaobao to nest the fish. She rubbed her hands on Zhang Xiaobao's clothes and said, "After being with a person like you for a long time, it's hard to find that little bit of kindness in my heart. Thank you for the compliment. I'll fish more in a while. I'll fry them for you as a snack at night. Get someone in charge of foreign affairs here." Zhang Xiaobao shook his head happily and went down to the river. He called out, and someone immediately did as he ordered. As a wholesale and retail merchant, Li Dong's life had not been good recently. There were more and more ships coming to and from Tang Empire to Xinluo. A large number of goods were unloaded and turned into money. The low price made many people who used to buy goods from his shop run to the dock to buy. In recent months, his profits had been getting smaller and smaller. If this continued, it would not be long before his family's business could not continue. Fortunately, after he took charge of the shop, he specially studied the goods shipped from Tang Empire. He chose goods that the Tang Empire people felt were not profitable and would not be transported. He bought them from Tang Empire and transported them to Xinluo by land. The shop also opened a new branch. As it was far from the sea and the Tang Empire ships did not transport such goods, his life became much better. He was looking forward to making a lot of money, but who knew that Tang Empire wanted to connect the Mud River? Once it was connected, ships would come over. Now that the price of a few goods had been raised by him, people with intentions would definitely notice. A few days ago, someone from the imperial family came over to discuss. In order to prevent Tang Empire from successfully clearing the river, he stood in front and found people to use all kinds of excuses to obstruct. Although it was a temporary success, when he heard that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan from Jili province were coming, he did not know if they would kill him. They were people who could do anything. He regretted that the imperial family was afraid back then. Why did he foolishly agree? No, he had to find a few more colleagues. When trouble came, everyone would face it together. With this thought, Li Dong rubbed his sore eyes, got up, and walked out of the room. He called out to a servant who walked past him. Tell the steward to write a few invitations and send them to the vegetable workshop, the distant mountain chamber of commerce, and the horse gang. Tomorrow, there will be a banquet at Chongfeng Pavilion. The servant left in a hurry. Not long after, he came back to report, Master, the steward knows. Someone came outside saying that he's the steward of Xingjing Construction and wants to see you. Xingjing Construction. Li Dong felt that the name was familiar, but he could not remember what it was. The servant reminded him respectfully, Master, it's the business between Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family that you often told us about. They specialize in all kinds of construction work. Most of the money they earn is used to build the school of Tang Empire. They are unyielding. They once said that no matter what disaster it is, even if the sky falls and the earth sinks, the school will be the last to be destroyed. After the servant mentioned it, Li Dong matched the things that had happened a while ago with what he was hearing now. Oh, it's this. A few days ago, there was an earthquake in a place near the sea in Dengzhou of Hunan province. I heard that many houses were knocked down and washed away. The two-story school in the village stood alone. The crack in the ground passed through the middle of the building, but the building did not fall down. The seawater flooded the lower floor, and the children ran to the upper floor to avoid it. Why are they here? Did the Tongha River alarm them? Tell them that I'm not here and let the second steward receive them. If they are not looking for trouble, I'll take a detour from the back door and just came back. It was not the first time that the servant had done such a thing. He agreed and trotted to arrange it. Watching the servant leave, Li Dong began to recall the things that had happened in Dengzhou. He murmured, Xingjing Construction is rich. I heard that the crack in the middle of the school is 4 feet wide. If it were other small houses, they would have fallen in directly. But the upper floor of the school is still connected. It is said that steel bars as thick as a child's arm can be seen in the crack. Did they come here to repair the bridge? If so, it will be troublesome. If Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan do it personally, I don't know if they can hold on. It did not take long for the second steward, who was in contact with the foreign affairs of Xingjing Construction Group, to send a message. Master, the second steward said that the man is not here to repair the bridge, but to repair the road. He said that he wants to give you a fortune and asked you to choose a good place to start the construction. Chapter 842. In the morning court, after Li Longji received the news from Jili province, he issued a new decree with the support of a group of officials. Guns and cannons would be transferred from the arsenal and 3,000 Jinwu guards would be sent to the grassland to train. This was the place left behind by the two Jua after they retreated. Zhang Shuo was especially happy because the guns and cannons had always been in the hands of the Zhang family and Wang family. He had tried several times to figure out how to make them, but to no avail. In addition, the reason he objected last year was not approved by the emperor, so he did not dare to propose to take control of the arsenal. It seemed that the emperor trusted Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan more. This time, he strongly supported the emperor's proposal because he heard that the manufacturing of guns and cannons was very troublesome. For every gun that was up to standard, there would be around 5 that were not. The craftsmen that Zhang family and Wang family had gathered were working hard to improve that thing called lathe. 3,000 Jinwu guards, it was impossible for them to only take 3,000 guns. Perhaps some of them would break down, but at least 4,000 would be needed. This would put a lot of pressure on the Zhang family and Wang family. Furthermore, the cost of the cannons was not low. If the Zhang family and Wang family could not provide enough ammunition, he would have a reason to fight for power. Standing there and thinking about happy things, Zhang Shuo could not help but smile. On the other hand, Yuan Rong's side was worried. The enemy of an enemy was a friend. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't like Zhang Shuo, so they had to rope them in. They didn't expect the two of them to stand on their side, but at least they had to let them know that they weren't a threat to them. Gao Lishur was very good at reading people's expressions. When he saw the smile on Zhang Shuo's face, he bowed and said to the emperor, "Your Majesty, the officials are very happy to hear Your Majesty's proposal." Li Longji's eyes also swept back and forth between the officials in sight. He did not miss Zhang Shuo's expression, and his face could not help but become gloomy. He thought to himself, "I don't know when Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's master will fight. I am already worried, but there are still people thinking about internal strife. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are so sensible. Not only are they not supporting them, but they are also hoping that something will happen to their families. Their intentions are unforgivable." Thinking of this, Li Longji was even more annoyed with Zhang Shuo. In the past, he had thought that Zhang Shuo was not bad, but why was it that he could not see the maturity in him recently? "Li Shi, is there any news from Governor Zhang and Adjunct Wang in Jili Province?" Li Longji decided to let Zhang Shuo's faction suffer for a while as a form of warning. If they still didn't know when to back down, he would have to make a move. Gao Lishur seemed to have a tacit understanding as he replied, "Your Majesty, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo know that the Turks are retreating to the north, that Japan is going to participate in the sea exploration, and that Silla is ready to make a move. They have already come up with a plan, but they haven't officially sent a letter to the capital yet. I think they will arrive in the next few days. When I return, I will show the letter to Your Majesty." As Gao Lishur spoke, Li Longji seemed to have really not seen Gao Lishur's letter. He happily said, "That's good. The two of them have worked hard. I heard that the two of them have personally gone to the border with Silla. I hope there won't be any danger." The officials really thought that the emperor did not know the specific situation, but when they heard the emperor say that the two of them had arrived at the border, they immediately understood that the emperor was pretending. How could he know the situation if he had not read the letter? Heard it? Who told him? Your Majesty, please rest assured. The two of them have personally gone there because Xiao Bao does not wish to use war to solve the problem. I feel that with Xiao Bao's help, the matter of Silla can be solved. Perhaps there will be an unexpected situation. Gao Lishur did not get the specific information from the letter, but he knew that it was fine if his godson did not make a move. Once he did, Silla could only wait to be unlucky. Xiao Bao's methods were unusual. At this time, Zhang Shuo also restrained the smile on his face. He understood the meaning of the emperor's words. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still busy with the Tang Empire. They should not have any thoughts about the two of them. They should not do anything that they should not do. Otherwise, it would be easy to put the blame on someone else, such as sending them to Jili Province. Li Longji seemed to feel that the blow was not enough. He asked again, "Lishur, how much military equipment and ammunition are in the armory now?" Apart from Gao Lishur, Li Longji, and Zhang Zhong, the other officials really did not know. This was because it had been agreed that the emperor would be in charge, and the people of the Zhang family and Wang family would assist in the management. The Ministry of War and the head of the Secretariat could only stand aside. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Gao Lishur, wanting to get a detailed report from him. Your Majesty, I just went to count yesterday. Now, there are 4,000 pistols in the armory, 6,000 single-shot spears, 1,500 semi-automatic spears, 200 boxes of pistol bullets, 500 rounds per box, 400 boxes of rifle bullets, 800 rounds per box, 150 towed cannons, 3,000 shells, 15,000 grenades, and landmines. The number of weapons reported one by one made everyone dumbfounded. Even if they knew that the arsenal controlled by Zhang family and Wang family was very powerful and knew the power of the new weapons, they could not figure out how they could produce so many weapons. Zhang Shuo felt even more pressure. For a person, the most terrifying thing was not knowing. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan seemed to have a close relationship with the emperor, to the extent that they were closer than the prime minister. In terms of favored officials, the two of them were not the kind of people who relied on the emperor's good impression to do things. Their own strength was there. In terms of being able to be an official, many times, they did not follow the etiquette of a monarch. Should he secretly remind Xian Luo that Zhang Xiaobao is going to use underhanded methods? Zhang Shuo, who felt the pressure, was tempted. As soon as this thought appeared, he suppressed it. Forget it, he believed that the people of Xian Luo also knew how Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's methods were. It was better for him to be honest. Otherwise, if the two of them found out, they could easily kill their way to Hanyuan Palace Hall on a whim one day and shoot him a few times. Yes, it was very easy. Even Xiaobei and the others dared to bring up the official registrar of the Ministry of Works, let alone their brother and sister. There was no normal person in this family. They did not know what compromise was and did not follow the rules. All the officials had their own thoughts. For a moment, Hanyuan Palace Hall was silent. Seeing that his initial goal had been achieved, Li Longji opened his mouth and said, "The 3,000 Jinwu guards entered the grassland this time. First, they represented the imperial court to accept the Turks. Second, they were to check the terrain and make a detailed map. Third, they were to improve their proficiency in using weapons. Fourth, there were too many wolves on the grassland. They were to find other animals and let the people of Fengzhou follow them. They were to make canned food and bring it back to the capital for everyone to taste." "Thank you, Your Majesty." The officials quickly expressed their gratitude. The canned food of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had been leaked, but the recipe had not been leaked. A food that was originally for the inner court to carry on a long journey had now become a luxury item. One could not help but sigh. In that case, the court is dismissed. Seeing that no one brought up anything new, Li Longji left with this sentence and left in his carriage. The officials looked at each other and hurried back to their respective offices. In their hearts, they knew that the Turks were finished. The 3,000 Jinwu guards were equipped with good weapons. In addition to the hot air balloons patrolling the sky, it was very likely that they would catch the Turks off guard and attack them directly. Changfeng Pavilion, built by the river, had 3 floors. One could see the murmuring water of the muddy river flowing, and there was even a slight breeze on the surface of the river. Just like other restaurants, the higher the floor, the more expensive the dishes were. This was especially so for the rooms facing the river. Ordinary people could only look at them but could not afford them. Li Dong had gathered the people from the other powers on the 3rd floor. Originally, he had planned to come tomorrow, but who knew that the foreign affairs of Xinjiang construction would come today? Furthermore, they even said that they would give him a fortune. Regardless of the other party's intentions, he still had to show the necessary etiquette. Thus, he brought forward the date to this evening. If the people of Xinjiang Construction Group wanted to threaten him, he would have a few more helpers to help him. In a room on the 3rd floor, more than 20 people were seated at 3 tables. Some of them were clearly dispirited, as if they had just come out from a brothel not long ago. If one were to look carefully while walking, one might see that some of them had weak legs. More than 20 people gathered here and kept drinking tea. There was no dish on the table. After waiting for half an hour, they finally saw Li Dong, who had come back from outside and met the people of Xinjiang Construction Group by chance, walking in with the people of Xinjiang Construction Group while chatting and laughing. Finally, more than 20 people stood up and greeted them one after another. They glanced at the people of Xingjing Construction Group from time to time. If they were just building houses for others, they would not pay so much attention to them. However, they knew clearly who was behind Xingjing Construction Group, so they had to pay attention to them. After greeting each other, they sat down again. The waiter of the restaurant hurriedly served cold dishes and wine so that they could eat first. Ladies and gentlemen, Boss Li has already introduced me. I am Zhang Tai, the Foreign Affairs Manager of Xingjing Construction Group. However, I'm sure you don't know why I'm here today. I wish you all a prosperous business and fortune. The Foreign Affairs of Xingjing Construction Group asked the waiter to fill the wine glasses first. Then, he picked up the glasses and started to talk to the people at present. After that, he drank up the wine in the glasses. Seeing him drinking up, the others also drank up a bowl of wine. After burping, they knew that Zhang Tai had something to say. Therefore, they all fixed their eyes on Zhang Tai and waited for him to open his mouth. After putting down the bowl, Zhang Tai picked up a cucumber and chewed it. Wei Wei shook her head. Apparently, he didn't like the cold dish of cucumber in Changfeng Pavilion. Li Dong didn't make any comment on this. Now that Zhang Tai was from Zhang clan and Wang clan, he must have eaten better food than Changfeng Pavilion. Besides, between the clouds and the water and blue sea silver sand were not decorations. After forcefully swallowing the cucumber, Zhang Tai put down his chopsticks. It seemed that he didn't want to continue eating. After looking around with a smile, Wei Wei shook her head and said, "Not many people." That's it. After letting you know about it, we will find more people to cooperate with you. After hearing that, over 20 people also put down their chopsticks and pricked up their ears in case of missing something important. Here's the thing. Xingjing Construction Group wants to cooperate with you to build a road from Jili province to here. The total cost is estimated to be 11 million strings of coins. As long as you contribute a little bit, the road will be built. Zhang Tai casually uttered a figure. However, this figure startled all the people at present. 11 million strings of coins. How much was a little bit? If it was divided equally, it seemed that it was not enough even if they sold all the goods. Before someone raised the question, Zhang Tai continued, "If it's not divided equally, you will not have enough cash flow, right?" All the people nodded as they knew that Zhang Tai was giving them face. Otherwise, they would not have enough cash flow. They would not have enough cash flow even if they sold all their properties. Therefore, Xingjing Construction Group will take 10 million strings of coins. You only need to take 1 million strings of coins in total. If you put too much money on goods, you can find others to join you. You might ask why we want to build a road. To tell you the truth, our young master has taken a fancy to some specialties of Xinluo and wants to expand the business. Meanwhile, there will be new specialties of Jili province in the near future. We want to sell them to Xinluo. Previously, we planned to use ships, however, we were afraid that you would not be able to see the benefits, therefore, we came here to seek for cooperation by land. Zhang Tai's words revealed that he was afraid of the over 20 people at present, which made Li Dong and the others feel much better. It seemed that they were very powerful when they joined hands. Even Zhang Xiaobao would be afraid of them. This was an acknowledgement. Fine, 1 million strings of coins. If we join hands, we could, we have to study it carefully. The moment one of them was going to agree, he caught Li Dong's eye. Therefore, he hurriedly changed his words, which sounded awkward. At this moment, Li Dong opened his mouth. Foreign Affairs Secretary Zhang, what's the road like? If we spend money to build a road, what will we get in return? If it's just convenient transportation, with all due respect, it's not cost-effective. Even if there's no new road, we will find a way to transport goods by land. Why should we spend more money? The others suddenly considered this question as they nodded inside and stared at Zhang Tai. Chapter 843. As Zhang Tai took out the plan that he had prepared in advance, the room on the third floor of Changfeng Pavilion became quiet. Nobody talked anymore, neither did they care about the dishes and drinks which were not as tasty as blue sea silver sand. With Li Dong in the lead, the crowd gathered together and formed 3 circles. Each circle had a proposal, and they all read it without making a sound. Not bad indeed. Zhang Xiaobao is really something. After looking through a few catalogues, Li Dong raised his head and said something in Xinhua to the people who were also looking at him. They nodded at once. If it were them, they would not be able to figure out the plan in their hands. After saying that, Li Dong turned over a page. They then continued to read it seriously. Part of the plan was how to mobilize the materials for road construction and where to find people to help transport them. Part of the plan was about the firmness of the road and whether it could withstand the flood and the trampling of horses' hooves. Li Dong and the others were not interested in this information. It was not easy to get 1 million strings of coins. Even if over 20 families worked together, they could not afford 1 million strings of coins. They had to find more people. They had to find a reason for others to help them. What they wanted to know was how much benefit they could get from the road construction. After turning over another page, they finally found the information that they needed. Firstly, the road would be built at the junction of the 2 places, namely the border between Xinhua country and Tang dynasty. It would not take long for them to see the results. They would build inns, restaurants and other houses on the roadside for those who had just come from Tang dynasty or Xinhua country to rest. It was estimated that they could get 1,000 strings of coins per month. In the future, as trade and transportation became more frequent, they could make more money. Xinjiang construction only needed 20% of the profit. After the road in Jieshi province was built, the investors in Xinhua country could also get 20% of the profit. Seeing the first point, a smile appeared on Li Dong's face. An 80% and 20% profit was like money falling from the sky. If they were to calculate according to the proportion of money invested, they wouldn't even be able to get 10%. It seemed that Zhang Xiaobao would give them some benefits first and then ask for it from other sources. After considering it, they continued to read on. Secondly, the road was built on the road that could barely be considered a road from afar. That way, the people or groups who could still use this road would have to walk on their own if they didn't want to walk on the newly built road. If they wanted to leave, they had to pay a toll fee to maintain the road. If they were traveling alone, they could stay at the 2 sides and wait for other caravans to come over to help guard and transport the goods. In lieu of paying the toll fee, both sides would receive a certain percentage of intermediary fees from the caravans. If a caravan were to pass through, they would charge a fee based on the value of the goods. Considering that the value of the goods could increase by several times from one place to another, they would charge a fee of 10% of the value of the goods or 5% of the goods. Good, the second point is good. If you don't take the road that we built and go to other places, firstly, it will be dangerous and secondly, it will be a waste of time. 10% of the money is not a small amount. It would be best to take 5% of the goods. If the goods are transported back and forth, they will all be things that are not available in the 2 places, so the value will be higher. When Li Dong saw the second point, he stopped and told the people beside him. They nodded once again. Third, the Great Tang would set up a toll gate on both sides of the border. All goods from Xinhua would have to pay a 20% tariff to protect the profits of the Great Tang's corresponding industries. The Great Tang would send people to patrol and put an end to smuggling. Why? Why do we have to pay a tariff for trade and transportation? It's the first time I've heard of it. It's really strange. Kenjingjing construction represent Great Tang's imperial decree. When Li Dong saw the third point, he was not satisfied. He wanted to transport more goods from Xinlua to Great Tang to sell in the future. Since there were more people in Jilin province, there would be more goods in demand. Therefore, the price would be higher. If he had to pay this ridiculous tariff, wouldn't he be giving money to others for free? Therefore, he questioned Zhang Tai, who was sitting on the cushion. Zhang Tai was drinking the scented tea that he had brought. Recently, he had been a bit irritated by the boat ride. Thankfully, his master had prepared a scented tea for him. Tasting the faint fragrance of the flowers, he was interrupted by Li Dong, who licked his lips and said, "All the subjects of Great Tang know that my young master and young lady can make decisions on behalf of Great Tang in foreign affairs. His Majesty has also agreed to collect tariffs. Additionally, it's not the first time that Great Tang has collected tariffs in foreign affairs. Jiannan province has already started to collect tariffs. Even my master's caravan would have to pay the corresponding amount of money. It's the same for Xinyuan Island. I estimate that in a few days, the ships coming to and from Japan would also start to pay tariffs. We can't go against this. Xinlua could also collect tariffs. Otherwise, Master Li could consider it. If Master Li wanted to buy porcelains from Great Tang and transport them back to Xinlua, you could sell them at 6 copper coins per porcelain bowl and sell them at 30 copper coins per porcelain bowl. My Tang caravan could buy porcelain bowls at a lower price and transport them back to Xinlua at 20 copper coins per porcelain bowl. Would Master Li lower your price? If you lower your price, the Tang caravan would only need to maintain the same level of profit as Master Li. By then, the price would be lower than Master Li's. Would Master Li still have money to earn? After collecting tariffs, you would naturally have to raise the price to make profits. This is a form of protection for Master Li. Master Li nodded as his expression changed. It was indeed like what Zhang Tai had said. When the Tang caravan started to transport goods to Xinlua, it would have a great impact on him. At this moment, Zhang Tai added, besides the impact of purchasing goods from Great Tang, there's another impact. Xinlua's trees are always less than Great Tang's, especially the output of cloth. For example, a weaver could earn 300 copper coins per year. Our Great Tang has more advanced weaving machines. Our cloth is cheap. If we sell it to Xinlua at a lower price, would the weavers of Xinlua starve to death? This time, more people nodded. They admitted that Great Tang's technology was more advanced than Xinlua's. They also understood this logic. If silk was cheap, weavers would not be able to weave. If grains were cheap, farmers would not work. If goods were cheap, craftsmen would not work. If there was no output, there would be no money. If there was no money, one would not be able to afford goods. If goods could not be sold, the merchants would be doomed. This is called an economic crisis. Abnormal supply exceeds demand. By then, Xinlua would be doomed. Our young master does not intend to harm Xinlua like this. Otherwise, he would not mention this matter. By then, he would mobilize a large number of materials and attack Xinlua several times. Xinlua would still have a good chance to survive. Our young master is benevolent and righteous. Zhang Tai even showed off his knowledge to Li Dong and the others. Regardless of whether it was right or wrong, Li Dong's people did not know. Li Dong agreed with Zhang Tai's words very much. The only thing he disagreed with was that Zhang Xiaobao was benevolent and righteous. He did not believe that Zhang Xiaobao would be kind-hearted. We need to discuss it when we go back. Li Dong couldn't make up his mind. As it involved too much, he needed to discuss it with that member of the imperial clan of Xinlua last time. It seemed that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had already stabilized the affairs in Jilin province and were ready to hold a negotiation with Xinlua. This was a big trouble. It doesn't matter. We can understand your difficulties. We're not in a hurry. We'll talk about it after you've discussed it with me. After all, 1,000,000 strings of cash is too much for Xinluo. Even Xinluo's annual income might not reach that amount, not to mention the merchants headed by Li Dong. Zhang Tai replied with a smile. However, his words made them very uncomfortable. Even though he did not show it on his face, Wei Wei's words revealed a condescending attitude. Li Dong and the others just bore this uncomfortable feeling and didn't refute it. After all, Zhang Tai asked for 10,000,000 strings of cash. The sun was warm. Li Longji was lying on the artificial lake that was saturated with salt, looking at the floating clouds in the sky. He appeared to be very satisfied. From time to time, he would take a sip of wine that was floating on the table beside him. This kind of life was really enjoyable. After drinking a cup of wine, he felt a bit tipsy. He glanced at the entrance and waited for Gao Lisher, who had gone to fetch a letter. Not far away, he heard a splash sound. It was the palace maids performing a water dance. In front of him was Wu Huifei. She was wearing a translucent swimsuit, which was very seductive. Your Majesty, don't let others come to this lake in the future. After they swim, the water will be dirty. Wu Huifei said softly as she held a peach in her hand. She had just washed it clean and peeled it. She then put it in front of Li Longji's mouth. Li Longji took a bite of the peach and narrowed his eyes in satisfaction. He said to Wu Huifei, "The lake is huge. How can anyone dirty it? Those who come to swim are checked by doctors outside. If they are sick, they won't be allowed to swim. If they really don't allow others to come, who will pay for the salt and water? This lake is more than 3,000 feet long, which is 1,000 meters long, 200 meters wide, and 10 meters deep. According to Xiao Bao's calculations, this is 2,000,000 cubic meters. If it is saturated with salt, it will require more than 600,000 tons of salt. Since the beginning of the construction of this lake, it has been constantly expanding. So much money has been spent, and we still have to inject new water and salt every once in a while. If others don't pay, do you want me to? Then I will really be a fatuous ruler. If Xiao Bao and Cuckoo find out, they will stop the annual public welfare funds for disaster relief and construction. My losses will be even greater. Your Majesty, I have never thought so much. So the Zhang family and the Wang family are that powerful? If they are really gone, won't our great Tang be in danger? Your Majesty will have to make concessions to them, Wu Huifei said. She had heard Li Longji's words before, and she seemed to be agreeing with him. Sigh. Li Longji looked at Wu Huifei and sighed. Don't keep thinking about how to deal with them. Even if you're right and Great Tang can't do without them, so what? I don't have the final say in this world. I might be able to deal with the Zhang family and the Wang family, but I'll drive them away at the cost of Great Tang's economy. Yes, I can only drive them away. It won't be easy to destroy them. Chapter 844. Upon hearing the emperor's words, Wu Huifei could only sigh inwardly. Now that the Zhang family and the Wang family were so powerful, no other officials or forces could go against them. The only one who could do anything was the emperor. However, the emperor's attitude showed that he supported the Zhang family and the Wang family. What was the emperor afraid of? Who had the ability to fight from Luzhou to the capital? She had asked several times, but she did not get any useful information. When she thought about this, the smile on Wu Huifei's face became brighter. She said to the emperor, "Your Majesty, a few days ago, Cuckoo asked someone to send me a set of clothes. The places that should be exposed were not, but the places that should not be exposed were all exposed. I wore it once. It was so embarrassing. Li Longji naturally knew what kind of clothes it was. It was specially made for women to wear to seduce men. He had seen it at Empress Wang's place the day before yesterday. The workmanship was exquisite, and the materials were exquisite. He heard that it was the work of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. He wondered why the two children were thinking about it. Since it's sent here, wear it for me tonight. If it's not done well, I'll definitely hold them responsible. Huifei, for the good of the country, you shouldn't be selfish. It's easy to destroy a person, but it's difficult to build a country. Moreover, the Zhang family and the Wang family can't be destroyed as you wish. I know you have resentment in your heart, so keep it in your heart. Don't take it out, and don't do anything. No one can touch the Zhang family and the Wang family in Luzhou. Even if it's my decree, Luzhou still has to give face to the two families. Also, the 130,000 slaves in Tubo. Oh, now it's 160,000. I reckon it won't be long before it's 200,000 slaves. I know all about it, but what can I do? If the two families want to deal with me, they should have seen those weapons, right? They didn't let me know and directly used them on me. Tell me, who can defeat them? Li Longji was clear in his heart. He knew the power of the Zhang family and the Wang family very well, but he never mentioned the matter of weakening the two families. Wu Huifei rarely heard the emperor say such things to her. Today, when the emperor said this, the charming smile on her face faded. She frowned slightly and said, Your Majesty, are we really going to ignore them? What if they want to take His Majesty's position? If I wanted to sit, I would have done so long ago. I also thought about it for a long time. I was worried, scared, and helpless. Later, I suddenly thought it through. The Zhang family and the Wang family did not want to be the emperor. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were not very respectful to me. Just look at Xiao Bei, who kept calling me Uncle Emperor. In the eyes of Xiao Bei and the other children, I was only respected because I was older, not because of my identity. Every night, after I finish reading the memorials, I always think, why? Later on, we understood. Oh, to put it in Xiao Bei's words, we understood. The Zhang clan and the Wang clan, especially Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, probably didn't like to be emperor. They only treated the great Tang as theirs. They want me to always sit on the dragon throne, and then follow them to make the great Tang stronger. Their thoughts are not on me, but on the people of the great Tang. It is true that the people are the most important, followed by the country, and the emperor is the least important. As Li Longji spoke, he also felt that he had talked a little too much today. He thought that it might be because the weather was good, and the surrounding countries were gradually stabilizing, so he could let go of many things in his heart. Looking at Wu Huifei's puzzled eyes, he said, starting from Sanshui County, the Zhang family and the Wang clan would always compromise with me as long as it involved interests. If they were afraid of me in the beginning, then they don't need to be afraid of me now. Especially after Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's abilities were revealed, they still did what they did in the beginning. They wanted to play the game with me, and I also played with them. Don't think that they are afraid of me. I have already thought about it. They are not afraid of me, but they are worried about the confrontation with me when the game can't continue. They don't want to hurt the entire Great Tang. Yes, they have the ability, so they will compromise and let me continue the game, leaving the initiative in my hands. However, this initiative of mine is not because of the position of emperor, but because of the people of the Great Tang. They are not willing to fight a war that will affect the Great Tang. Therefore, compared to them, I am more selfish. They don't care about the position, but I care. They care about the lives of millions of people, but I put the position first, and the people second. I am afraid of them, and I also feel guilty. In the future, I will not think of dealing with them. I am immortal, and I can't compare to their hearts that are as bright as the sun and the moon. After saying this, Li Longji felt much better. He drank another mouthful of wine, and the wind from the water swept over him. A relaxed feeling appeared on his body. Wei Wei narrowed her eyes, enjoying this rare day of vacation. Wu Huifei was dumbfounded. She had never thought that the emperor would place the Zhang family and Wang family in such a position. She originally thought that the Zhang family and Wang family were the same as the other officials, demoting and killing them as they pleased. It seemed that it was not that simple. She rolled her eyes and said in a low voice, "Your Majesty, what if we bring the Zhang family and Wang family to the capital? Your Majesty will treat them to a meal, and then they will foolishly come here without any backup plans, waiting for me to give them a cup of poisoned wine, or prepare 3,000 axemen. Do you think they are really stupid? Don't mention this again." Li Longji opened his eyes, looked at Wu Huifei, and sneered. Wu Huifei shrank back and did not say anything. She also understood that the Zhang family and Wang family were so good at scheming, how could they be fooled? "Your Majesty, good news, Your Majesty." Just as the two were speechless, Gao Lisher, who had left to collect the letter, came running back. He waved the letter in his hand and shouted from afar. When he reached the lakeside, he quickly took off the rest of his clothes, leaving only a pair of swimming trunks. With a splash, he jumped into the lake and swam towards Li Longji with his arms raised high. Li Longji sat up and looked at the approaching Gao Lisher with a smile. "Lisher's swimming skills are improving. Isn't it because the lake doesn't sink people?" Gao Lisher said modestly as he walked over. In his heart, he knew that it was because he could often enter the water. In the past, he did not like water, mainly because his body was weak. Usually, he hated that he could not bathe 8 times a day to get rid of the fishy smell. But now, he did not have to worry. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo gave him a lot of things that palace maids used. They were clean and comfortable, and they could also kill bacteria and get rid of odor. In the past, who would wear underpants and cover? Now, they were all using them. Xiao Bao and Huan Huan said that they were gifts for the women in the palace, but the pants that were obviously much bigger looked very fitting for her. In addition, the paper underwear that was said to be for babies, but it was obvious that the entire baby could be wrapped in it. It was obvious that it was for her to use. Now that there was no smell on his body, he only dared to swim for a while. Otherwise, how could he improve his swimming skills? He did not acknowledge him as his godson in vain. Li Longji was also aware of this matter. When he saw Gao Lisher splash around in the water, he thought of the group of eunuchs in the palace who dared to wear cool and breathable clothes even when the weather was hot. He was also happy. "What good news? Tell me." When Gao Lisher swam closer, Li Longji looked at the letter in his hand and asked. Gao Lisher handed over the letter that was slightly wet. He swam around leisurely and said, "This subject hasn't seen it yet. There is an extra flower on the envelope. Xiao Bao will only draw it when there is good news. Your Majesty, take a look." "What does it say?" "Oh. There is indeed a flower. Huifei, please take a look at Lisher's letter." Li Longji nodded when he saw the pattern on the envelope. Wu Huifei first looked at Gao Lisher cautiously. Seeing that he did not object, she moved closer. The three of them opened the envelope and read it together. "Oh. It says that the river will be repaired in a few days, and the people of Xinluo will pay for it. It does not mention the specific situation. I think that Xiao Bao will not make a mistake. What is written below is to collect taxes. What kind of tax is this? We have to collect all the goods that enter the country from the outside, but we don't collect the goods that leave the country. We even have to pay the merchants who collected the goods. Why is this?" Li Longji looked at the letter and seemed to be talking to himself. In fact, he was talking to Wu Huifei and Gao Lisher. How could Wu Huifei know the reason? Her eyes were also puzzled. Gao Lisher thought about it and said, "Your Majesty, a few days ago, Xiao Bao mentioned it in his letter. This subject thought that it should not be used so early, so I did not mention it. The reason for collecting taxes is because we are afraid that the goods produced outside will affect the country. Xiao Bao and his caravans at Pingzhou Pass always have to pay a sum of money. Now, we have the people at Pingzhou Pass deposit the money in the Great Tang Bank and then issue a certificate. Once the money is saved up, they will send someone to send it to this subject. This subject has told Your Majesty before. Didn't Your Majesty say that there is no need to rush? This subject already has more than 400,000 strings of coins and can withdraw them at any time from the bank in the capital. Of course, after withdrawing, this subject will take out a portion to return to Xiao Bao. Your Majesty has promised to exempt them from taxes." Hearing Gao Lisher's words, Li Longji remembered that there was indeed such a matter. However, Wu Huifei did not understand. She pointed at the matter of giving money to the merchants who sold things and asked, "Why do you have to give money to the merchants? They naturally earn money by selling things. Return it to them." Gao Lisher explained, "That depends on what it is, such as cloth and food. Now that they want to sell to Axian Luo should learn from Xiao Bao and collect 20% tax, which is 40%. If this money is collected, the merchants will definitely sell it at a higher price to earn money. However, Xiao Bao does not intend to let the merchants sell it at such a high price. If they want to sell it at a lower price than the local price of Axian Luo, they must compensate the merchants with money so that the merchants will not lose money." "What's the use of that?" Wu Huifei asked again. "There are many uses. One is to prevent the farmers of Axian Luo from farming, and the other is that Axian Luo will not subsidize their merchants. One of them is reluctant, and the other is also unexpected. Thinking about it, with Xiao Bao's methods, the amount of goods handled will be very large. Under the situation of attacking Axian Luo's local industry, it will also make the merchants of Axian Luo resentful of the people in charge. Without agriculture, it will be unstable, and without commerce, it will not be able to live. This is a strategy to destroy the country." Chapter 845. The weather was getting hotter, and the people were getting more and more agitated. The third floor of Changfeng Pavilion once again welcomed a distinguished guest. Li Dong, who had previously contacted the members of the imperial clan, came over today to gather more merchants from Xinluo. They gathered on the third floor of Changfeng Pavilion to discuss important matters. "Everyone, the matter of the road repair has been settled. Let's see how much money you have left. Gather 1 million strings of coins as soon as possible and repair the road. The higher-ups will give us some benefits." Li Dong saw that everyone's eyes were on him, so he took out a piece of paper and pushed it in front of a person beside him. When he passed it around, he said to the group of people. There were not many words on the paper. One could read it from the beginning to the end with just a few glances. The room immediately fell silent. For the time being, no one answered Li Dong's words. They passed it around. After a quarter of an hour, everyone finished reading it. When they raised their heads again, there was a trace of worry between their brows. The person who first read the words on the paper hesitated for a moment before asking, "Mr. Li, 1 million strings of coins is not a small amount for us. The higher-ups only said that there would be a reward in the future, but we don't know when it will be or how much the reward will be. It's worrying." The others also thought of this and nodded. They looked at Li Dong again, wanting to get a specific time and amount from him. Li Dong looked around, a sense of helplessness welling up in his heart. 1 million strings of cash was enough to make them feel so distressed. From the various reports he had received from the Great Tang, let alone the mountainous wealth of the Zhang and Wang clans, even a merchant with some ability could gather 1 million strings of cash when in need. This was the difference. How could the merchants of the Tang dynasty have such ability in 10 years? 10 years, if one said it was long, it was like the sun rising and setting all day long. If one said it was short, it was like the colorful clouds in the wind. When one looked back, it suddenly flowed away. When he met with the members of the imperial clan, he had also mentioned this matter. In 10 years, the children who had entered school at the age of 10 had grown up. In 10 years, the grain output of the Tang dynasty had more than quadrupled. 10 years had passed. Perhaps the mountains had not changed their color, and the water had not weakened, but the Tang dynasty had become stronger and stronger. 10 years ago, Li Longji could only be gentle with Xinluo. 10 years later, Li Longji gave the order and the gunship surrounded. Sigh. Thinking of this, Li Dong couldn't help but sigh. Looking at the people who were still scheming, he said, "Everyone, now that the Tang Empire has mountains of grain and forests of people, all kinds of advanced technologies are emerging one after another. If you still think about that little bit of personal gain, perhaps in another 10 years, there won't be Xinluo. At that time, you and I will both be sinners, and perhaps we won't even have the qualifications to be sinners." When they heard Li Dong's words, they were stunned at first, but when they thought about it carefully, they realized that it was true. Once Xinluo was annexed by the Great Tang, their positions would definitely be at risk. Even though they knew this, they still felt uncomfortable. One of the people sitting across from Li Dong moved and asked, "Since you know, why don't the imperial clan take out the money to repair the road? Why do you insist on making things difficult for us merchants?" "It's all because of the Great Tang. In the past, when Xinluo went to the Great Tang to pay tribute, the Great Tang would accept more things and give more things. There was money, technology, cloth, and leather as a reward. Later on, for some reason, when Xinluo sent a lot of things, Li Longji's rewards changed. There were those gorgeous glass products, beautiful and exquisite furniture, and there were even vouchers to eat at Savant's restaurant and Joy House. For every 100 copper coins spent, one could use 20 copper coins as a voucher. Recently, it started to include between the clouds and the water and blue sea silver sand. The rewards were indeed quite a lot, 1 million strings of coins. But what's the use of that? The glass and furniture can't be eaten or drunk. If you really want to use up the 1 million strings of coins with the vouchers, you have to take out 4 million strings of coins to eat and drink. In addition, some people in the imperial clan like to enjoy themselves. If we use Xinluo's money to exchange for luxury goods from the Great Tang, how can the imperial clan have money?" A knowledgeable person discovered this matter and was very worried. That's why he found us to temporarily tide over this difficult situation. Li Dong was angry at the mention of this. He was angry at Li Longji's shrewdness and angry at the disappointing people in the imperial clan. The others fell silent for a moment, not knowing what to say. After a long while, someone asked in a soft voice, "Boss Li, even if we gather enough money, will it be of any benefit to Xinluo?" This was a crucial question, and the silent people also wanted to know. Even if it wasn't for their own benefit, taking out money to pave a good path to the Great Tang for Xinluo, it had to be of some use. Li Dong nodded. "That's the reason. When I went to see the higher-ups, I also thought about it. The higher-ups said that the Great Tang's ships coming to Xinluo aren't a good thing. They want to let them familiarize themselves with Xinluo's waters. If they send troops to attack us from the sea, Xinluo won't be able to defend against them. Thus, in the future, they are not allowed to enter Xinluo's land from any place on the sea. They are only allowed to dock at 2 designated docks. Naturally, land transportation is of the utmost importance. Compared to the Great Tang, Xinluo produces fewer goods. With the existence of tariffs, we can sell less goods to the Great Tang, or even not sell goods to the Great Tang at all. As long as goods from the Great Tang enter, they have to pay a 20% tariff. The Imperial clan will use this money to forge weapons and protect the people. This money is free. The more goods they send over, the greater the advantage we get. There are other benefits as well. For example, the ordinary people of Shinlua can't afford to eat meat, but the Great Tang's meat is cheap. Everyone knows that in the current Great Tang, as long as the people are hardworking, they don't need to be too capable to eat meat every day. If the Great Tang ships it over, the price won't be too high. At the very least, it'll be cheaper than what we get. There's also cloth and other things, especially food. The higher-up said that if there's a disaster, we can use the 20% tariff to buy food from the Great Tang. Everyone's eyes brightened, realizing that this was indeed a good plan. Just as they were about to agree, someone raised a new question. If that's the case, then our Shinlua will always be at an advantage. Isn't that Zhang Xiaobao a fool? I'd rather believe that the sun rises from the west than that he has such good intentions. That's right, several people said at the same time. Perhaps it's because Jili province produces too much and he can't sell it, so he wants to sell it to our Shinlua. Or perhaps he wants to get the good things of our Shinlua to the Great Tang faster. Even if it's neither of the two, he's just preparing to build roads to make it easier for the Great Tang army to come. That's just a little faster. Without good roads, who can stop the Great Tang army if they want to come? Even Li Dong himself did not have confidence in his words. He understood that Zhang Xiaobao could not be treated as an ordinary person. Chapter 846. Feeling that Tang was becoming more and more powerful, the merchants of Shinlua finally united with each other and prepared for the road construction. Led by Li Dong, they started to negotiate with Zhang Tai. Superficially, Zhang Tai's conditions had already given the merchants of Shinlua a great advantage. However, merchants pursued profits. As long as you made a concession, they would want to take a step forward. Facing Li Dong's group who were united and aggressive, Zhang Tai was not anxious at all. He knew that even if they continued to make concessions, the merchants of Shinlua would not gain any advantage at all. Instead, they would suffer a complete loss. However, he could not agree with all the conditions of the other party at once in case of arousing suspicion. Therefore, he called a team to negotiate with the merchants of Shinlua. At the same time, the transport team of Zhang clan and Wang clan also transported piles of goods from Tang to Sashui River, which was dozens of kilometers away from Niha River. This batch of goods was made up of the worst quality pottery and the first batch of silk that had not been sold out. There were also a small number of luxury goods. It would take some time for them to complete. It was the right time for Zhang Tai to negotiate with the merchants of Shinlua. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan still didn't leave. They were fishing and eating the barbecue that they had been bored with. They looked very leisurely. At the beginning, they were accompanied by some guards. Later on, when the construction site was suspended, all the guards had left. The hired guards of Shinlua also went back home helplessly. When the riverside became tranquil, the two people came here alone every day in a very regular manner. They're fighting over there again. Go ahead. Fight with your full strength. Zhang Xiaobao opened the bellies of some shrimps and prepared to dry them under the sun. When he smoked them and gave them to his younger siblings as snacks, he gloated at the moving figures on the other side of the river. Wang Wan picked up the binoculars and took a look. Seeing that the people over there were bleeding, she shook her head. You're really ruthless. You're too evil. Did you have this idea when you wanted to connect the river? It's blasphemy to hear the word cruel from your mouth. No matter how cruel others are they cold-blooded like you? There aren't many kind-hearted people like me nowadays. I can't bear to see others bleed. After seeing it, my legs went weak. To be honest, I really didn't expect them to fight because I didn't know that someone would cause trouble. I only wanted to clear the river so that it would be convenient for the Blackwater governor's mansion to transport goods and at the same time, hold Shinloa hostage. However, when they saw an honest person like me, they started to bully me. It's a crime to bully an honest person. Zhang Xiaobao looked like he was bemoaning the state of the universe and pitying the fate of mankind. His hands moved faster and more decisively. When the shrimps were put under the sun after peeling the skin and removing the innards, they could still move a little. Wang Wan curled her lips. Forget it, comrade Zhang Xiaobao. I'm not soft when it comes to killing people, but when it comes to killing people, I can only use it to threaten the people who are still alive. You're torturing people to death bit by bit. A lot of food was transported to Tubo. I heard that when they left, Chai Zuzan cried when he saw the food. According to Princess Jincheng, many people in Tubo are so hungry that they're all skin and bones. Many people have already died. If there's not enough food, in a few months, we can only see corpses everywhere. Speaking of this, Wang Wan's expression was very interesting. To be able to force the ruler of a country to cry, it could probably be recorded in history. When the two of them were talking, the other side was still fighting. The main reason was that the Shinlua people who were hired to work were disturbed by the people who stopped the construction, and they lost a lot of income. When there was work to do, Tang dynasty did not give them money. Instead, they directly gave them food, bean oil, and smoked meat. After working for a day, the food they got was enough for a family to eat for 5 days. More importantly, the food they ate was much better than before. The meat and oil were not something that could be eaten casually. Now that the construction site was stopped, and thinking about the situation at home, they naturally hated the people who stopped them from working. Therefore, both sides started to blame each other, and then it turned into a physical fight. After Zhang Xiaobao finished cleaning up the shrimps, he looked at the battle on the other side that was still not over. He pulled out a piece of grass from the ground and put it in his mouth. Suddenly, he stopped and turned his head to look at the place where he pulled out the grass. He threw out a knife from his sleeve and carefully dug. "What are you doing?" Wang Wan saw Zhang Xiaobao's actions and asked. "I'm digging something good to eat." As he spoke, Zhang Xiaobao dug out something that looked like a radish from the ground. Platycodon. Wang Wan recognized it, but she was a little unsure. She had never dug it herself. "Yes, it's this thing. There's a song called Platycodon Ballad, also called Dailaki. Some people call it Go Bao, some call it Monk Head, because there's another name called Monk Crown Hat. It's very delicious when it's made into salted vegetables. It's a pity that there's no chili. When the people from North America come back and take a look, they can make some for Xiaobei and the rest." Zhang Xiaobao shook the radish in his hand and introduced it to Wang Wan. Wang Wan swallowed her saliva and smacked her lips twice. "It's delicious. Usually, it's called North Korean salted vegetables." Later on, some people felt that saying North Korean salted vegetables was not noble, so they insisted on making South Korean salted vegetables. They even printed Korean words on the packaging to show that they were of noble origin. In fact, we have a lot of them here. This is not the fault of the people. It's the problem of the leaders. There's a problem with the propaganda. Let me tell you, this thing was not salted vegetables in the beginning. It was the people of Shinloa who had no food to eat, so they dug wild vegetables to fill their stomachs. It was very miserable and very sad. Therefore, I decided to help the people of Shinloa liberate themselves in the spirit of internationalism and humanity. Don't say that I'm hypocritical. Back then, the Western countries did a lot of things. They spent money to create an anti-government organization in other countries. Then, the soldiers rushed over and bombarded them. The excuse was to help those who were bought by them gain power. I'll learn from them. Zhang Xiaobao chuckled and continued to search for the platycodon. This thing was too small, one was not enough to eat. Wang Wan looked at the leaves on the platycodon and also started to help find them. She prepared to dry them first and wait for the chili so that Zhang Xiaobao could make them into North Korean salted vegetables. At that time, the spicy cabbage would also appear. Xiaobao, are you planning to do something ruthless to Xinluo? At first, I thought that you only wanted to connect the river. Later on, seeing that your plan was constantly improving, I reckon that your thoughts are not small. Wang Wan, who had found 2 platycodon, picked it up in satisfaction and showed it to Zhang Xiaobao, who had already dug out more than 10 platycodon, and said to him. At that time, I didn't think too much about it. Later on, I saw that there was an opportunity. If I wasted it, I would be punished by the heavens. So, I conveniently made the arrangements and stayed for another 5 days. If no one else made a move, we'll go back. Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be surprised, took the 2 precious platycodon from Wang Wan's hands, and replied. Chapter 847. The sun was right, the clouds were in the lake, the water was flowing over the hills, and the leaves were dense. The Jing forest heard the sound and the feathers fell. It was desolate. The original Jian and prefecture was now separated from Jian and county. On the road to here, the group endured the scorching sun and the sultry woods and walked hard. Thirsty, still thirsty. Xiao Bei, who had drunk a lot of water, rubbed the dust mixed with sweat with her sleeves. Her face was flushed, and she pouted and said that she was thirsty. Xiao Yuan quickly handed over a water bag. Hold on a little longer. According to the approximate location, we should be reaching the letter soon. That was the place where the commander-in-chief worked. It's big and spacious. I can't hold on anymore. My heart is so cold. I haven't seen a single person along the way. What kind of lousy county is this? If there's no one, who will govern it? Xiao Bei drank a lot of water and stuck out her tongue to lick her sweet lips. She still felt thirsty even though she was full. She muttered and found a high place. She stood on it and looked around with binoculars, hoping to find someone. Then, as the county magistrate of Jian and county, she could play a role. The group stopped and found a shady place to rest and replenish their water. Xiao Hai still looked indifferent even if the sky fell down. Xiao Zhu took the drawing board and insisted on sketching. Zhang Gang, Zhang Chang, and Zhang Fang seemed to be affected by genetic factors. Their parents used to live in the mountains, so they were more adaptable. Xiao Yuan muttered, "Heaven is strong, a gentleman should strive to improve himself, to encourage herself." The 100 children who were guards had grown a lot taller. Although they were tired, they still fulfilled their duties. Some of them rested, and some of them dispersed to prepare for unexpected situations. In a circle about 1 kilometer away from them, there were 400 adults scattered around, hiding in the dark. The 400 people were wearing camouflage uniforms, hats made from the nearby grass on their heads, and field boots on their feet. Each of them had a long gun in their hands, and the barrels of the guns were wrapped with camouflage vines, trying to prevent the sunlight from reflecting on the scopes. This group of people was naturally arranged by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. First, they were responsible for protecting Xiao Bei and the others. Second, it was a kind of training. They brought what they should carry and were not allowed to enter the county to resupply in the open. They were also responsible for the safety of Xiao Bei and the others. Once Xiao Bei and the others finished their official positions, they would also finish their training. Xiao Bei wiped his face with a wet towel. When a gust of wind blew, he felt refreshed. He shook the water skin twice and saw that there wasn't much water inside. He took out a small pouch from his pocket and pinched some salt into it. He shook the pouch a few times and drank it with his eyes closed. Party members, we still have to persevere. We can't give up halfway. The road ahead is bright. It's filled with hope. Xiao Bei, can we not be so bureaucratic? I know you've been learning a lot. Take a break. Once you've regained your strength, you'll be on your way. I reckon that there are still people in the martial manor. They won't all move away. When the time comes, you can tell them that we don't need this anymore. Xiao Yuan didn't wait for Xiao Bei to finish speaking. He grinned and waved his hand. It was not easy for Xiao Bei to organize his vocabulary. He was just about to practice speaking like this when he was interrupted by Xiao Yuan. He was clearly unhappy. The others are not saying anything. You're the only one who's pouring cold water on me. When we enter the city, it'll be your responsibility if we don't see anyone. Okay, I'll take responsibility. If there's no one, I'll resign and become a commoner. What do you think? Xiao Yuan had also drunk a lot of water. He looked at the dust floating in the sunlight through the leaves. There was no part of his body that didn't feel uncomfortable. In addition to them, there was one other person in the group. He was the only adult. When the others were resting, he was responsible for keeping watch. Looking at the children and the weeds on the road ahead, he stood with his hands behind his back and said loudly, "The long wind blows through the dense forest. The fragrant grass is green and the sparse clouds are sparse. The changes do not change for 10,000 years. The vicissitudes of life, the wind and rain, the rain and the rain. Uncle Li Bai, oh, brother, do you want to drink again? You've drunk almost all the wine we brought. You can't drink anymore. When we enter the city, we'll ask people to look for fruits. We'll use this wine as a starter to brew wine. If you drink it all, there won't be any left in a year." Xiao Bei took out the exercise book from his bag and wanted to look at the questions. When he heard Li Bai's voice, he pouted and put the exercise book back. He really didn't want to talk to Li Bai about the wine. Li Bai originally wanted to drink. When he came here, he brought 5 water bags of wine. He drank 4 bags along the way and only had 1 bag left. When he wanted to take a sip, he was stopped by Xiao Bei and others. They said that if he had the first sip, he would want the second sip. It wouldn't take long for him to finish the last bag of wine. He had to force himself to hold back. Thinking of this, Li Bai looked very helpless. When he came to Jili from Pinglai, he was ready to meet Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and let them directly recommend him to be an official in the capital. Who knew that the two had left in advance and left a message for him to be an official here with a group of children? They said that after a year, when Xiao Bei and others knew what it was like to be an official, they would go back to Jili with them and arrange for them to go to the capital. He didn't know how to survive a year. Well, I've rested enough. We can continue. Work hard. When we reach the city today, we can have a good rest. Don't be in a hurry to look for people. Children recovered quickly. After a while, Xiao Bei was full of strength again. Looking up at the sun, he gritted his teeth and decided to hold on and finish the last part of the journey. Hearing Xiao Bei's words, the group of children quickly packed their bags and stood in a row. They surrounded the 9 most important people and began to move forward. Li Bai was also tired and hadn't had lunch yet. Seeing Xiao Bei start to move, he had to follow him, hoping to reach the destination quickly and then eat a full meal to recuperate. After more than a month of traveling, he was obviously thin. When the children moved, the people in the distance also moved. They only ate a little and didn't dare to eat too much. They were afraid that the blood would gather in their stomachs and the blood supply to their heads would be insufficient, which would affect their reaction speed. The sun gradually set in the west. When the sky was full of red clouds, the city wall finally appeared in front of them. It was the outer city of the governor's mansion of Jiannan. The wall made of mud was only a little higher than Xiaobei and others. The adults could jump over it as long as they tried hard. The outer city wall was full of weeds and there were a few wild flowers swaying in the wind. It looked very sad. At this time, Xiaozhu took out a map and looked at it. Then she pointed to the place in front of them and said, "There is a call here. After the call, you can see the inner city wall. You don't have to continue to spend the night in the wild." Hearing Xiaozhu's words, the children became much more energetic. They took small steps and sped up. Li Bai rubbed his stomach, which had been so hungry that he didn't feel anything, and also followed the children. He looked at the setting sun again and hid behind the colorful clouds like an egg yolk. The call on the map soon appeared in front of everyone. Compared with the canyon, the mountains around the call were not so high. It was like a basin, and the area was bigger than the canyon. Usually, it was formed by the erosion of a river, but there was no river. It was like a small plain, but it was uneven. The group of children lowered their heads and hurried on with all their might. As they walked, the person in charge of scouting ahead suddenly stopped. One of them turned his head and happily shouted to Xiaobei, "Xiaobei, there are people farming here. The beans that they're planting are obviously not left behind in the past." Where? Where? Let me see." Xiaobei rushed forward happily and carefully observed. Sure enough, the ridge and gully that should have been barren was still there. Bean seedlings grew there, but they had not borne fruit yet. The seedlings were not full of weeds like they had seen on the road. "Spread out, let me see how much of the place is planted with beans." Xiaobei was happy. If there was food growing on the ground, it meant that there was someone managing it. If there was someone, he would not be an official without an army. The children spread out and ran out, carefully stepping on the ground. They only stopped when they stood in a place where there was no food growing. "There is rice here. It's dry rice. It doesn't grow well." A child's guard stood in the distance, gathered together and shouted to Xiaobei. "There are cucumbers here. They are in a frame, but the leaves are yellow. It should be because they haven't been watered for a long time." Another child stood in the distance and shouted. "Where I am standing is a small river. There are small fish swimming in the river. There is wheat planted by the river. It seems that it can be harvested." A third voice sounded. As the children found a place where there were no more crops, one business after another sounded one after another. Xiaobei listened to the sounds of movement and used his binoculars to look around, estimating the approximate area. After seeing all the children standing there motionless, Xiaobei nodded in satisfaction. "The area is really not small. I don't think a single family can handle it. How big is the cucumber field? Let's water the cucumber field first." After shouting, Xiaobei took the bag on her back to the front and pulled out something that looked like a round pancake. She fiddled with it a few times and pulled it up. A bucket made of cloth and steel wires suddenly appeared in front of Li Bai. Li Bai had never seen such a strange thing. He asked in confusion, "What is this?" "A bucket. This bucket is easy to carry and can hold a lot of water. It can be folded and stretched, just like the sleeping bags and tents we used when we came here. Isn't it fun?" Xiaobei picked up the bucket and ran toward the river. She said to Li Bai, who was running next to her. Li Bai nodded. It's fun. He had never seen such a strange thing. He had seen buckets made of bamboo, wood, and ceramics. Rich people also had buckets made of iron, but he had never seen a bucket that could be folded. He followed Xiaobei to the river and watched the children work together to fill the buckets with water and carry them to the cucumber field. He was stunned for a while and muttered to himself, "The Zhang family and the Wang family are really amazing. Even the buckets are different from those of other places. Looking at the buckets of water being poured into the furrows, a group of children took out folding shovels. This time, Li Bai was no longer surprised. It seemed that everything could be folded. He wondered who came up with this idea. Seeing Xiao Bei and the others working hard to water the cucumber field, Li Bai raised his head and looked at the sky. He said to Xiao Bei, "If we don't hurry, it will be completely dark." "It's okay. We can still walk in the dark. There are people here. We are the Strong Children's Sapling Protection Group. We have to take good care of the saplings. In a few days, we will be able to eat cucumbers." Xiao Bei insisted on watering the cucumber field. Since she found that there were people here, her fatigue seemed to have suddenly disappeared. The sun finally set at the foot of the mountain. The sky was not completely dark yet. Under the efforts of the children, the cucumber field finally became moist. At this moment, the cheerful and melodious sound of a flute suddenly reached everyone's ears. There was no specific tune, as if the flute was played according to the mood of the flute. Even if the flute was repeated in the same place, there were still a few differences. Xiao Bei and the others looked in the direction of the sound in puzzlement. This was a mountain valley, so the sound came from all directions. It took Xiao Bei and the others a while to find the source of the sound. They saw two cows coming from the west, one in front and one behind. Sitting on the back of the cow in front was a child, who was about 2 years older than Xiao Bei and 4 or 5 years younger than the guards. The child placed a bamboo flute in front of her mouth and leisurely walked diagonally forward. It seemed that she wanted to go home through the mountain valley. "Hey! Sigh! That. Wait a moment." Xiao Bei's eyes were fixed on the shepherd boy, as if she was afraid that he would suddenly disappear. She tiptoed, waved her arms, and shouted with all her might. Her clear voice echoed through the mountains, attracting the shepherd boy's attention. The sound of the flute suddenly stopped. Xiao Yuan saw the child open his mouth and widen his eyes as he looked in their direction through the binoculars. Xiao Bei wanted to take a closer look at her people, so she continued shouting, "Hey! Come here, come here. Is this your land?" The child on the cow's back was clearly frightened. He looked over nervously and hesitated for a moment. Finally, he mustered his courage and made the cow walk over. When he came close, he saw a group of children in front of him. Some were older than him, while others were younger. There was also an adult standing by the side. He observed the clothes the adult was wearing and then realized that he was only wearing a pair of pants. He lowered his head in self-abasement and hesitated, refusing to let the cow walk forward. He didn't come over, but Xiao Bei couldn't wait any longer and ran towards him. When she was in front of him and looked at the obedient cow, Xiao Bei revealed what she thought was her cutish smile. She asked the little boy on the cow, "Is this your land? How many people do you have? Where do you live? Is the food you planted today enough to eat? Why didn't you move away with the others? What's the tune you're playing? Do you have any other livestock or poultry in your house?" Xiao Bei, who felt that she was an official and had to understand the people, asked one question after another. The boy on the cow's back was completely dumbfounded. Seeing that the boy did not speak, Xiao Bei became anxious. She was about to go forward and pull him down when Xiao Yuan ran to the side and grabbed Xiao Bei. She said to the boy, "We are not bad people. We are all good children. We help to water your house." Hearing Xiao Yuan's words, the boy's serious vigilance was obvious. He pursed his lips stubbornly but did not say anything. At this time, Li Bai shook his head and walked forward. He said to the boy, "Go, we won't stop you. Go home quickly." When the little boy saw the only adult coming over, he patted the bull's back with his hand. The bull under him very intelligently took 2 steps back before it turned around and continued to walk in the direction it wanted to go. The little boy didn't say a word from beginning to end. Looking at the back of the boy, Xiaobei regretfully smacked her lips and said to Li Bai, "Why did you let him go? If I don't go, how can I find the adults in his house? Let's go and have a look." When Li Bai saw that there were really people, he completely gave up. When he came here, he knew that most of the people here had moved away. He thought that Xiaobei and the others would go back to Jili province after seeing that there were no other people. Then, he could go back with them and see Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He would try to find a way to get them to recommend him. Now that he saw them and got to know them along the way, he knew that Xiaobei would never give up. Even if there was only one family, Xiaobei would be an official until the end. Therefore, he could not go back. Otherwise, if Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were angry, they would not recommend him or even say a few bad words. Xiaobei's eyes were still on the 2 cows. She stretched her neck and looked again. Then, she nodded and said, "Then let's go. When we get to the city, we can boil some hot water and take a good bath. We can sleep at night. Tomorrow, we will get up and do homework." "Yes, we must do it." When Xiaobei and the others followed the 2 cows and left, a pigeon flew out of the woods and quickly headed for Jili province. Compared to the younger brother and sister who found the people who were still alive, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were waiting for someone to assassinate them by the mud river, were very disappointed. The place and time where they appeared every day had not changed. The guards also did not see them. Even so, no one came to kidnap them. "I guess it's because our status is too low to be valued by others. That's why no one came to assassinate us, let alone kidnap us." Zhang Xiaobao was tired of fishing. During the day, he had to deal with many things at night, which consumed a lot of energy. He threw the fish he caught into the net that was covered with stones and flushed in the water. Then, Zhang Xiaobao said helplessly. Wang Wan narrowed her eyes and dozed off. When she heard Zhang Xiaobao's voice, she echoed, "Yes, we're not worthy of being assassinated. It means that they don't like us. What should we do?" "Don't worry. Think of a way to make them like us. Whether it's the Japanese or the Xinluo people, we have to find an excuse to make a move. Tonight, I'll write a letter and send it to the merchants in Jiangnan East to let them take action." Zhang Xiaobao decided to take the initiative and force others to attack him and Wang Wan. That way, he could find an excuse. What if no one touches us? Wang Wan did not think that the Japanese and the Xinluo people had the guts. "I guarantee that they will do it. If you don't believe me, just watch me. There won't be any problems within half a month," Zhang Xiaobao said with certainty. Wang Wan thought for a while and finally understood Zhang Xiaobao's meaning. She agreed, "That's good. We can also see the reaction of all sides. You arrange it. I'll sleep for a while." Li Longji sent his troops to the Turkic steppe. Maybe he will directly take action. I'm really worried that he will take action. The current Turkic steppe is different from the previous one. Previously, there were many internal conflicts. If the Tang Empire didn't attack them, they were willing to submit. But once they find that the Tang Empire has the absolute advantage, all their internal conflicts will disappear and they will turn to the outside world. I hope that the person leading the troops won't be rash just because they have weapons. Zhang Xiaobao said as he took out a fishing rod from the side. He looked at the bait that had been eaten and the remaining hook was bare. He put the bait on again and threw it with all his strength. Accompanied by the whistling sound of the air, the lead fell into the water again, rippling circles of irregular ripples, which were immediately washed away by the current. 5 days passed quickly. Zhang Xiaobao still came to fish every day, but he no longer cared about whether the fishing rod was moving or not. He freed up his hands to arrange homework for his younger siblings. Come and listen. See if this question is okay. Little Wolf said that I can run 5 li in a quarter of an hour. You little lambs can only run 3 li. I'm currently 6 li away from you. Tell me, how far is the furthest your home is from me? Can you return home by the time I catch up to you? Zhang Xiaobao read word by word. He held a pen in his hand and marked the words with pinyin. Sometimes, he would make a few mistakes so that his younger siblings could correct them. Wang Wan had a smile on her face the entire time. After hearing Zhang Xiaobao's question, she sighed and said, "Back then, you should have become a teacher. I remember that when I was studying, no teacher ever taught me like this. They all followed the textbook and occasionally gave me some application questions, but they were all extremely boring. If every teacher could be like you, I believe that children would have more fun learning, and they would not be so resistant to learning. Unfortunately, there are very few, really very few. Of course, these are my younger siblings. I have to put in a lot of effort to make them willing to learn. In fact, I can't blame those teachers. They teach so many students, and there are many lessons every day. If they were all like me, wouldn't they be exhausted to death? Do you think storytelling is such an easy thing? If it was really easy, there would not only be a small number of people writing fairy tales. Fortunately, we have a good starting point now. Many teachers and schools have also approved of our method. I hope that all teachers in the future can follow suit and form a tradition." Zhang Xiaobao did not go to school much. Even if he heard Wang Wan say that teachers were not good, he still felt that it was a blessing to be able to be taught. Wang Wan was a little disapproving. It's all because of the enrollment rate. A teacher's salary is linked to a child's exam results. Children have good memories. As long as they memorize hard and then get a high score in the exam, that's enough. Actually, I think that teachers' salaries are too low. We should continue to raise it. We should have a salary of 10,000 yuan a month. Those who can't build a good foundation for the students should be fired. A high salary can also be used on teachers. Also, unless the teacher in charge of an elementary school is affected by irresistible factors, they should be taught from grade 1 to grade 6. Then when this matter is over, the two of us will make a rule and let the current teachers follow it. Zhang Xiaobao did not want to continue thinking because he could not understand Wang Wan's words. He felt that it was good enough as long as he could sit in school and study. Compared to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's leisure, Li Dong, the leader of the newly established business alliance in Xinlua, was not relaxed at all. The negotiations were in a deadlock from time to time. He also knew that the conditions offered by Xingjing Construction were good. He wanted to agree several times, but the other businessmen in the alliance still thought that it was profitable and wanted to force Zhang Tai to make concessions. Previously, when Zhang Tai was alone, he could play the emotional card. However, at that time, the people in the alliance thought that Zhang Xiaobao was alone and did not have enough energy. They thought that Zhang Xiaobao wanted to build the road as soon as possible. Therefore, they pressured Zhang Tai to compromise. However, when they pressured Zhang Tai too much, Zhang Tai turned hostile. Now that they continued to negotiate, it was useless to play the emotional card. Zhang Tai found a team that was in charge of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Business. It was called the negotiation team, and it was indeed worthy of its name. When it came to negotiations, there was no place to start. The foundation of Xinluo's party had been completely taken away by the other party. Guys, the day before yesterday, the negotiation team of Xingjing Construction said that today is the last time. If we can't pass, they will build the road themselves. They don't need our 1 million strings of coins. By then, if we want to send our goods out, we have to pay for that road. Their road might not be built in the place designated by us. Tell me about it, what's the bottom line? I will talk to Zhang Tai after a while. Actually, I'm most worried that Zhang Xiaobao would play other tricks when he gets angry. It's not that I look down on us, but I'm really not a match for Zhang Xiaobao in terms of tricks. Li Dong called those who were here for the last negotiation to the third floor of Changfeng building and told them. 1 million strings of coins was really nothing for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Even though they had very little liquid capital, they could easily take out 1 million strings of coins. If they couldn't take out 1 million strings of coins, they could call for help. By then, when so many businessmen in Tang heard that they were looking for someone to cooperate with them, they could even provide 100 million strings of coins, not to mention 1 million strings of coins. However, this amount was too much for the businessmen in Xinluo. At the beginning, the 20-odd businessmen couldn't afford it at all. At the same time, they didn't want to manage such a big thing by themselves. Therefore, later on, they found some familiar businessmen and formed an alliance. By then, they had over 100 members. At this moment, the 100 people started to ponder after hearing Li Dong's words. After a while, someone asked, I want to know, once the road is fixed, whose shop it will be connected to, whose shop will be the closest, and who will be the most popular. How can Zhang Xiaobao guarantee this? Li Dong knew what this person meant. It wasn't about who was the closest, but where the road would be fixed. It would be best if it could be fixed in a curve and then build a wall to block it. At that time, all the shops would be taken care of. All right, I'll ask about this. It's best to meet everyone's requirements, Li Dong said after some consideration. I have a question, another person said. Previously, he didn't have many questions because he had been conflicted about the division of the toll fee paid by the businessmen after the road was fixed. Now that the other party didn't agree, he could only return to reality. What I want to say is the standard of goods set by the Tang Empire. I used to sell things to the Tang Empire by water and land. Their standard is too high, and we don't have such good technology. As a result, the price of the same raw material is several times higher than ours after they process it once. Shouldn't this be adjusted downward? Or should they give us the technology so that we can also grasp it? Otherwise, we will be at a disadvantage. When we smelt copper and sell it to them, they will process it and decorate it on jewelry. The price of copper will be more than 6 times higher than ours. After this person finished speaking, he sighed and looked bitter. The others nodded secretly. It was indeed as he said. Due to the technical limitation, the price of the same raw material was very different. The more they thought about it, the more sullen they felt. How could Li Dong not understand? But when he heard this person's words, he shook his head and said, I'm afraid it won't work. The people of Xinjiang Construction are discussing the road with us. It has nothing to do with the goods. If it were us, we wouldn't use the road to talk about the technology of the goods. How about this? I'll mention it when we negotiate with them later today. Even if they don't agree this time, I'll ask them if they can negotiate with us again about the rules of the goods. No one had any objections this time. They stood up and a few people who had met Zhang Tai with Li Dong walked out together to participate in the last negotiation. Zhang Tai, who was waiting in the other room, was not in a hurry at all. He knew that at the beginning, the little young master had planned to connect the river. However, as things developed, the little young master was no longer satisfied with just connecting the river. He started to make a bigger plan. Since the plan was big, he naturally could not think about solving the problem in a short period of time. Connecting the river was no longer a single goal. He had to make some concessions for the bigger goal. Of course, he believed that the little young master would definitely be able to connect all the dots in the end and teach Xan Luo a lesson. He would let them know that they should not interfere in things that they should not interfere in. After a short while, Zhang Tai's team and Li Dong's team sat at the two ends of the negotiation table. The last negotiation involved a lot of specific matters. Unlike the first negotiation, Xe and Luo only considered the division of profits. Therefore, it took them a bit more time. From the morning, they had lunch at noon. When the sun set in the evening, they had lunch and had a short rest. When the evening lights shone and the morning star reached the middle of the sky, the tired people finally settled the matter. As for the division of profits, there was no change at all. Xingjing Construction would pay 10 million strings of cash. 80% of the profits would be sent to Xe and Luo in Jili Province. 20% of the profits would be sent to Xe and Luo in Jili Province. 1 million strings of cash would be sent to Xe and Luo in one go. 20% of the profits would be sent to Xe and Luo from Xe and Luo. After this matter was settled, no one raised a new question. According to Li Dong's opinion, the road in Xe and Luo should be curved so as to make it convenient for the businessmen who paid the money. However, Zhang Tai's team generously proposed that the road should not be curved. Instead, they should start from the border and build several forks. They would pass through the shops of the businessmen who paid for Xe and Luo in a straight line. Some places for stalls would be built on both sides of the road. The stalls would belong to the shops of the businessmen who paid for them. They could rent or sell the stalls. Others were not allowed to set up stalls on the roadside where there were no stalls. As for this point, if the fee was not enough, Xingjing Construction would pay a part of the fee. They would definitely build all the roads. By then, Xe and Luo could set up checkpoints on the roads and collect customs duties. After this plan was proposed by Zhang Tai, Li Dong's team became dubious. When did Zhang Xiaobao become so kind-hearted? Zhang Xiaobao's consideration was too thorough and comfortable. They had never thought that they would be able to earn money from the specially built roadside seats. If it wasn't for Zhang Xiaobao's criminal record, he would definitely be a great philanthropist. After this matter was settled, the businessmen of Xe and Luo happily raised 1 million strings of coins and sent them to Zhang Tai the next day. Among them, more than 500,000 strings of coins were banknotes of the Tang dynasty. Xe and Luo's own currency system was not perfect. They used to use the copper coins of the Tang dynasty, but now they dared to use the banknotes of the Tang dynasty. They were also learning from the Tang dynasty to make their own currency. They did not want to continue relying on the Tang dynasty. Otherwise, it would be easy for problems to arise. This time, they were just experimenting. Xe and Luo did not dare to imitate the Tang dynasty to make banknotes for fear of being counterfeited. However, they made an alloy. The specific metal was kept a secret, and the content of each metal was also kept a secret. In this way, the volume and weight became the way to test the authenticity. It accounted for 1/10 of this transaction, which was equivalent to 100,000 strings of coins of the Tang dynasty. However, during the exchange, because the Tang dynasty had a technological advantage, the ratio was larger. 10 coins of Xe and Luo could be exchanged for 1 coin of the Tang dynasty. The specific purchasing power was not easy to calculate. It involved the price of manpower, cost, and the difference in the value of goods due to the influence of technology on both sides. Li Dong had made a rough calculation and felt that Xe and Luo was at a disadvantage. In terms of purchasing power, Xe and Luo's money was not worth this much. After solving the problem of road construction, Zhang Tai generously sold another technology about weaving and silkworm breeding. After Xe and Luo's people were familiar with it, they could also make good-looking silk. In this way, they would not have to continue to rely on the Tang dynasty. Li Dong gave this technology to the Xe and Luo imperial clan who had contacted him. He even made a great contribution. He wanted to increase the value of his country's currency after mastering the technology. Hearing Li Dong's occasional thoughts, Zhang Tai was a bit worried. After arranging the road construction, he found Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and told them about it. Young master, young lady, that's the way it is. Shouldn't we think of something? Otherwise, if Axian Luo's currency becomes valuable, we will suffer a loss. Zhang Tai knew that he should not give advice to the young master and young lady, but he still couldn't help saying it. After hearing Zhang Tai's words, Zhang Xiaobao suddenly burst out into laughter. His laughter grew louder and louder. Finally, he covered his stomach and rolled on the ground. Ha 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 ha, I'm dying of laughter. How could such a silly person increase the value of the currency? Does it mean that his internal inflation or purchasing power will increase? Ha 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 ha, I can't take it anymore. My stomach hurts. Cuckoo, pinch me. I'm going to burst out laughing. Wang Wan also pursed her lips and smiled as she told Zhang Tai, I know you're loyal, but don't worry about this. Axian Luo is tired of living. How dare you link your currency with Tang Dynasty's currency? Do you know what your young master does? Forget it, you won't understand even if I tell you. Just treat it as if it didn't happen. Build the road. The quality must be guaranteed. Even if it's Axian Luo's currency, it can't be fake, which will weaken the reputation of Xinjiang construction. Go ahead. After receiving the assurance of the young master and young lady, Zhang Tai felt much more reassured, even though he didn't understand why Axian Luo's currency would suffer a loss when it was exchanged with Tang Dynasty's currency. Young master and young lady are very smart. Don't worry about other things. Build the road first. After that, let Axian Luo's people connect the river. Chapter 848. After reaching an agreement, Xinjiang Construction showed its unique efficiency in front of the merchants of Xinluo. The construction supervision team of 1,000 people arrived at their respective supervision sections in just one day. No one knew where they had been hiding for the past few days. Due to the connection of the Mud River and the Yishui River, the Xinluo people who were fighting stopped physical contact and started to take over the work of road construction. They didn't need to understand the drawings as long as they had the strength to understand the words of the supervisors. Numerous sand and stones were dredged out of the river and knocked down from the mountain, piling up on both sides of the former path. Various tools were distributed to the Xinluo people while bags of cement were transported to the place like falling from the sky. Under the expectant gaze of the merchants of Xinluo, the firecrackers were set off. After worshipping the earth god, the construction officially started. Here, there, and here, we need to build cement roads. The connecting roads are made of sand and stones. It's not that we don't want to use cement. It's that we don't want to build cement roads. Firstly, we don't have enough cost. Secondly, horses' hooves will be worn out before they reach the place. At the construction site, Zhang Tai patiently explained to Li Dong why they didn't build cement roads. After hearing Zhang Tai's words, Li Dong was enlightened. After being silent for a short while, he asked, Can the forks inside be built with cement? Of course. Don't worry, Mr. Li. The buildings built by Xinjiang Group are guaranteed to be of good quality. At this moment, the road in Jili province should also be built. You can send people to check it. According to the plan, it will be finished in half a year. Zhang Tai looked like a professional as he unfolded the drawing and circled some points. After that, he started to talk about the details. Li Dong didn't know the real strength of Xinjiang construction. Therefore, he couldn't estimate the completion time. No matter what, Xinjiang construction was always praised by others. Half a year. Even if you give me 10 half a year, I still can't build a spacious road from Jili province to Xinluo. However, it has nothing to do with Xinluo. I have to connect Jili province to Daxing city. The road there is not easy to walk on. Besides, there's a river. The Yalu River bypasses the Changbai Mountain and is now called the Taibai Mountain. If you go northwest, you can reach Mongolia. If you go northeast, you can reach the Heishui Commander-in-Chief Mansion. Even if it is difficult to go against the current, you can send the resources of the two places to Jili Province. Zhang Xiaobao, who was waiting for others to assassinate him, spread out the map and discussed the strategic layout with Wang Wan. This was also the reason why Jili Province cooperated with Xinluo at the same time. They did not intend to build a good road to pass through, but others could not see it. Wang Wan looked at the lines and annotations that Zhang Xiaobao had just made on the drawing. She sighed and said, "Is this a professional habit?" Originally, it was to solve the problem of someone obstructing the construction of the two rivers. In the end, in your hands, it became such a big scheme. If I didn't know that you wouldn't lie to me, I would have thought that you were painting a big picture for me. People like you are really worrying. I'm just taking advantage of the situation. You said that the land road can't be built. When our people come back from North America, they will bring so many crops and plant them in the Heishui Commander-in-Chief Mansion and Heilongjiang at that time. If they can't be transported out, won't they all rot in the field? I'm not an official who casually deceives for political achievements. I have to lay a good foundation for the entire Northeast region. It's important to increase the yield of new crops in the future, but more important is to maximize the benefits. We rule the north of Hebei province, so we have to play it like a game of chess. Zhang Xiaobao said very seriously. He swiped his big hand on the map. The three provinces in the northeast, including North Korea and Russia, were all covered. Look at you. You want to rule the entire north of Hebei province. You are just a provincial governor of Jili province. Wait. When so many of our craftsmen have built the overall industrial base, we will start to build railways. We will find craftsmen with flexible minds and let them learn more to form a system and set up a professional college. We can't lose traditional Chinese medicine. Many pharmacological theories are still good. We will gradually develop it then. Western medicine will also be integrated like now. In the future, there will be no traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine. There will only be a medical system that interacts and blends like genetic chains. Wang Wan said, her eyes full of yearning. She leaned her head on Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder and enjoyed the breeze blowing from the river. Zhang Xiaobao slightly adjusted his posture to let Wang Wan lean on him more comfortably. He looked up at the sky and said, "Hand over Shuiyun. Fly to Jinan and bring back a letter from Xiaobei. I haven't seen Shuiyun for a while. I don't know what it is doing. I heard from Zhang that Shuiyun looks like it has found someone it likes. Let's guess if it will succeed. What does its partner look like? One head and two wings. It's as big as an eagle, isn't it? You feel it? Don't worry, it will never grow into a chicken. Hooligan, I'm talking about Shuiyun. If you put that dirty thing near my hand again, I will pinch it off for you." Uncle Sure, sigh. "Let me discuss something with you, okay? Find all the people who are still here. I will provide you with good tools and bring you to prosperity." Xiaobei finally settled down in the former Jinan Commander-in-Chief's mansion, now Jinan District. The 100 children were divided into groups and used local materials to repair the house. The conditions were very difficult. Xiaobei found the child who herded cows and saw that there were 7 people in his family. Including the others who hid because of her arrival, there were probably more than 300 people in total. This number of people was too little compared to the first and second counties in Jili province. Even if they were few, Xiaobei could not meet them. Only the family surnamed Shi did not move away because of the stubbornness of the owner. Xiaobei found them today and wanted to discuss with them to gather the remaining people around them and build a place. Early in the morning, she took a few pheasants that she caught yesterday and chose the 2 best ones. She imitated how her brother made the beggar's pheasants and put them in a basket while they were hot. Then, she carried them to this house with Xiao Yuan. She originally planned to show her identity. Later, she thought that Xiao Yuan disliked her for always being pretentious. She decided to be honest and express her thoughts. It was impossible to tell the age of the Uncle Shi that he was referring to. This surname was obtained from the mouth of a child who was hiding not too far away when the guard was surveying the terrain. That child was frightened to death. The guard did not dare to capture him and bring him to Xiaobei, for fear of leaving a bad impression. At this moment, old Shi was looking at Xiaobei with a kind of benevolent eyes. The rough skin on his face was wrinkled like the furrows in the fields. His hair was thin and loose, and there were several patches on his coarse linen clothes. The veins on his root-like arms were protruding, and his grayish-brown fingernails were sharp. When he heard Xiaobei's words, he reached out and touched Xiaobei's head. He smiled until his face was squeezed together. His eyes were almost blocked. He said to Xiaobei, "I heard the boy call you Xiaobei. Is your name Xiaobei?" "Yes, it's Xiaobei." "Uncle Shi, I brought you a chicken, the beggar's pheasant. It's delicious. Try it. Don't forget to help Xiaobei find other people. Otherwise, Xiaobei won't be able to stay as an official." Xiaobei did not avoid the old man's hand and said with a pout. The old man Weiwei nodded. "Which family is this child from? He's so good-looking." "Xiaobei, where are the adults at home? I shouldn't let you run around. What if you meet bad people?" "In the capital, my father is the minister of the Ministry of Works. My mother is a first-rank noble. I'm a fourth-rank physician and an imperial censor. I'm an official of the Supreme Court and the county magistrate of Jinan County. I'm the parent official here. Uncle Shi, you must help me. I'll make beggar's pheasant for you." Xiaobei was very honest and told the old man his identity. The series of official titles made the old man stare blankly, but he could only understand the two titles of minister and county magistrate. As for the titles of doctor and doctor, he had no idea at all. "Oh. Good, Xiaobei is an official. Xiao Yuan has to work hard too." The old man squinted his eyes and rubbed Xiaobei's head again. "Uncle Shi, Xiao Yuan is also an official. He's a fourth-rank physician and an imperial censor. He's an official of the Supreme Court and the county magistrate of Jinan County. He's a little younger than me. His father is also a high-ranking official. His mother is also a first-rank noble. Uncle Shi, I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me, take a look." As Xiaobei spoke, he knew that the old man did not believe him. He took out a goldfish bag and a silverfish bag and waved them in front of the old man. He regretted that he did not wear his official uniform and did not bring his official seal. Seeing that the old man was still smiling, Xiaobei spread his hands helplessly and continued, "Uncle Shi, I'm not lying to you. Xiao Yuan and my family are very powerful. My brother and sister stomp their feet, and the whole Tang Empire trembles. If you can find them all, I'll give you an official position. The official position I'll give is different. You can have a piece of land here where you don't have to pay rent." "Oh, you don't want to pay rent now, so let's not talk about this. Other than rent, my official position can also receive the benefits provided by my family's business. Let me count. There are silk fabrics, furniture, soybean oil, medicine, fungus, kelp, it's called kuenbu. In the winter, you can even eat vegetables. Anyway, there are many benefits." As Xiaobei spoke, he counted with his fingers for the old man to hear. Good, official position. I'll take whatever official position Xiaobei is given. Come and rest. Stay at this old man's house for lunch. I'll make mushrooms for you. The old man smiled even more kindly. No matter how he looked at it, he felt that Xiao Bei and Xiao Yuan were very good-looking. "Oh, Uncle Shi, I'm really an official. I'm Xiao Bei from the Zhang family of Sanshui County. My family has business between the clouds and the water, as well as the blue sea silver sand. Anyway, there are many, many businesses. Uncle Shi, have you heard of them? Uncle Shi." As Xiao Bei spoke, the old man was stunned. He quickly asked again. "The Zhang family and the Wang family of Sanshui County. Between the clouds and the water in the middle of the mountain beside the water. You're a child from their family." The old man finally became serious. Xiao Bei nodded vigorously. "Yes, yes. I'm Xiao Bei." Chapter 849. Do you have any important matters to discuss today? With the arrival of midsummer, the rain gradually increased. The sky was gray as if it was about to fall. Some people felt that it was difficult to breathe, while others felt a trace of coolness. In the morning court in Hanyuan Palace, all the officials were in their positions. Li Longji arrived late. As soon as he sat down, he could not wait to ask the officials. When the officials heard this, they knew that the emperor was in a good mood today and had something good to say. Therefore, if it was not something important, there was no need to talk about it. When they were done, they could just write a memorial and submit it to the emperor. Li Longji sat there with the same intention. When he wanted to speak, the others should not speak first. However, among the officials who usually had a tacit understanding with each other, one person stood up today. "Your Majesty, I heard that at the beginning of last month, Jili province sent out fast horses and flying cavalry to send news everywhere. Rich merchants from Jingji province, Guanyi province, Hedong province, Duji province, Hunan province, Shannan East province, Jiangnan East province, and other places were all sent to Jili province. Do any other officials know about this?" The one who stood up was Zhang Shuo. His expression was not very good. After saying this, he stood there without moving. His eyes looked back and forth between the officials in the row opposite him. Li Longji was stunned. He had never heard of this matter. Recently, he often went to the Ministry of Works and spent a lot of time with Zhang Zhong. Occasionally, he would come back covered in dust. The main reason was that he had participated in a very big project. He thought that he had played a key role in it. Today, he succeeded and wanted to show off. He never thought that Zhang Shuo would not give him the chance. He had to stand up and talk about this matter. When he said it was about Jili province, what did Zhang Shuo mean? The other officials also had their own thoughts. How could they not know that Jili province had summoned a few hundred people to the prefectures and counties? However, Zhang Shuo brought it up to talk about this matter. Could it be that he felt that his life was too comfortable and wanted to find trouble? Who did not know that the emperor did not allow others to find trouble with Jili province? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were so busy that their feet hit the back of their heads. How could they have the time and energy to deal with the impeachment in the capital and defend themselves? Half a month ago, there was a flood in the west of Jiangnan. The news only came the day before yesterday. As soon as the news from the west of Jiangnan arrived, a pigeon flew over from Jili. It said that the disaster relief supplies around the west of Jiangnan had been allocated and were on their way to the west of Jiangnan. Even an idiot would understand that this was the reaction speed of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. There were pigeon stations all over the country. Before the horses set out, the pigeons would go first. At that time, when they heard the two kinds of news coming one after another, they were relieved. The emperor was also relieved. However, before they could be happy, Zhang Shuo jumped out again. What did he want to do? Li Longji also had the same thought. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were so busy. They had to manage the development of the north of Hebei province, especially the resource extraction of the Blackwater Commandery. They also had to plot against Xinlua and completely destroy their economy. In the future, they would completely rely on the Tang Empire. They also had to coordinate their own family's trading funds and the system of the Tang Empire's bank. In addition, they had to mobilize goods in the name of the imperial court for disaster relief in the west of Jiangnan. Looking at Zhang Shuo's expression, he was definitely not praising Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Thinking of this, Li Longji's face was as gloomy as the sky. He turned his head to look at Gao Lisher, who was standing next to him. He wanted to know what Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were doing. Why did they mobilize so many businessmen from prefectures and counties to Jili province? Gao Lisher really knew. He thought it was a small matter. Looking for businessmen to go to Jili province had nothing to do with the administration, so he did not take the time to tell the emperor. Seeing the emperor looking at him, he took 2 steps forward and said, "Your Majesty, Xiao Bao mentioned this in his letter. Jili province is not short of population and resources, but there are too few people traveling there. There is a bottleneck in development. Therefore, he wants to find more rich people to experience the scenery there so as to further stimulate the local economy. The reason for looking for businessmen is to discuss the application and distribution of new technologies. Some of the technologies that were first used in the military can be used for people's livelihood, such as the processing technology of the first-generation lathe. In terms of acid and alkali washing, a large amount of cheap washing powder and soap can be made. Now that the breeding technology of the Tang Empire is gradually improving, there is more oil left for businessmen to collect and process. There is also a fire starter, which is the match that Your Majesty saw. It is more convenient than a fire sickle. Therefore, he wants to find businessmen who are closer to Jili province and have a smooth journey. It is killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Oh! Li Longji suddenly understood. I see. In that case, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo can still find time to do other things. I think the 2 of them should be the Prime Minister. Li Longji whispered to Gao Lisher. Then he turned his face to look at Zhang Shuo, who had been standing below for a while, and asked, "I already know what Minister Zhang said. Does Minister Zhang have anything else to say?" Zhang Shuo knew that the emperor was going to be biased again, but he had to bite the bullet and say it. Otherwise, what was the use of being the head of the secretariat? The military affairs were originally arranged by him. In the end, it was Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, the compulsory soldier, who took the credit. The relationship with the neighboring countries should also be decided by the head of the secretariat. However, the 2 of them intervened and settled it. In terms of the economy, he could not control the Tang Empire's bank. In terms of farming, he did not know how to breed and crossbreed. The arsenal factory was still controlled by Zhang Shuo and Wang Wan. He could not even interfere in the construction of the bridges and roads in transportation. The most annoying thing was the arrangement of the official positions. Why did Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan have the right to arrange a position for anyone? Did they think that the Ministry of Personnel did not exist? Was the head of the secretariat just for show? Your Majesty, I think that the actions of Governor Zhang of Jili Prefecture are inappropriate. First, it is a waste of manpower and money. He transferred a few merchants to Jili Prefecture. The journey is not short and the expenses are enormous. If the money is used for civil purposes, the people of each Dao can prosper. Second, our dynasty's technology is ahead of the neighboring countries. However, if it is placed in the hands of merchants, it is feared that spies will get it. Third, with the position of the governor of a prefecture, he can transfer merchants from all over the country with 1 word. Please reconsider. Zhang Shuo listed the 3 matters. If he did not know that the emperor did not allow anyone to impeach Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan in front of the imperial court, he really wanted to put the charges on them. Li Longji listened to Zhang Shuo's words and did not directly express any opinions. Instead, he looked at the other officials and asked, "Does everyone have anything to say?" "Your Majesty, I have something to say. I think that Zhang Zhongshu's words are not a cause for concern. If it is using power for private purposes, I accuse Zhang Zhongshu of using power for private purposes. He wantonly promoted officials who are on good terms with him. He has been constantly exchanging private letters and gatherings. He has formed his own faction with the imperial court. I hope your Majesty can investigate this." Chapter 850. The sudden impeachment of Zhang Shuo caused all the officials to turn their gazes in that direction. Those who were far away recognized that it was Vice Minister Li Yuanhong. He was a man of few words and was always practical. It was unknown why he had suddenly appeared today to impeach Zhang Shuo. Zhang Shuo was also puzzled. He was the one who found fault with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, so why did Li Yuanhong appear? Could it be that those two people were related to you? Wasn't this just worrying about trivial matters? While he was puzzled, he was even more angry. "Li Yuanhong, I didn't find trouble with you, but now you're targeting me. Do you think I'm easy to bully?" Just as he was about to question him, Li Longji spoke. "We have heard of the matter that Minister Li spoke of." Li Longji paused. The hearts of all the officials trembled. Could it be that the emperor was going to act against Zhang Shuo? "Yes." Li Longji said another word. Zhang Shuo breathed a sigh of relief. Minister Zhang is the head of the secretariat, leading hundreds of officials. Naturally, you need to interact with them. There isn't enough time in the imperial court, so it's fine to speak in private. Does Minister Zhang think so? Li Longji narrowed his eyes at Zhang Shuo. There was an indifferent expression on his face, making it impossible to tell if he was speaking the truth. As if he had grasped onto a life-saving straw, Zhang Shuo nodded fiercely. His beard fluttered with his movements, slightly tinged with frost. Together with the weather, it gave off a desolate air. Standing across from him, Yuan Qianyao sighed softly. He was old, he was all old. Time waited for no man. Unlike Zhang Xiaobao and Cuckoo, he could decide the matters of the imperial court at such a young age and had plenty of youth to squander. "That's right," Li Longji said casually. Then, he continued, "We know that many officials don't have any ulterior motives. It's just that it's easy for them to be misunderstood. Minister Zhang is one such example. I hope that the officials can trust their colleagues by their side more. Don't jump to conclusions based on hearsay, and don't assume that someone has bad intentions based on a groundless matter. Judge others by your own standards. According to Xiaobei's words, our great Tang's imperial court is united. Does everyone agree with our words? Your Majesty, after hearing your Majesty's words, I feel your Majesty's tolerance and trust. I will not let your Majesty down." Yuan Rong stepped out and said something. The other officials who were standing in front of him all followed suit. Zhang Shuo was naturally no exception. After he finished flattering the emperor, he understood that his efforts today were in vain. The emperor's meaning was very clear. He shouldn't casually find a groundless accusation and pin it on others. Others impeached him, but the emperor didn't find trouble with him. Then, if he were to mention the matter of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, wouldn't he be playing with fire? Sigh. Why should the two of them receive such treatment? Zhang Shuo was unconvinced. His face looked even older. He quietly retreated to his seat and decided to endure. The emperor and his officials praised each other for a while before returning to the peaceful scene at the beginning. The wind was still blowing, and the sky had not cleared up. When the morning court ended, there would probably be a heavy downpour. Did the emperor prepare an umbrella? There was still some distance from the Hanyuan Palace Hall to the office. He regretted not bringing the portable foldable umbrella that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan gave him. He would definitely learn his lesson next time. After Li Longji settled Zhang Shua, he adjusted his mood and finally returned to his original state. He smiled and said to the officials, "Since you all don't have anything important to say, Jin will talk about recent matters." This is something that Jin suddenly thought of. What a coincidence. Come, bring Jin's things up. The officials below did not think that it was something that Jin Yi suddenly thought of. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stopped them from speaking. Zhang Shua deserved it. The things that were prepared in advance naturally did not take much time. As Li Longji's voice fell, Gao Lisher waved his hand. A few eunuchs beside him moved the things in front of Li Longji. The officials stretched their necks, wanting to see what the emperor was doing. Li Longji coughed lightly and walked down from the soft chair, which was a rare sight. He stood in front of the item placed on the ground and gave an even rarer smile. He took the item from Gao Lisher, who had squatted down to pick it up. He waved it in front of the officials and asked, "Does everyone know what this is?" The officials looked and recognized it. It was a light bulb. It was nothing special. Their own houses had it. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan gave it to them. Any official with a high enough rank would be able to receive benefits from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan for free. There were many low-ranking officials who would work hard for such benefits. The rich and powerful also bought it for use at home. Those who had a windmill would use it. Those who did not have a windmill would find a way to use a water wheel. Those who did not have both would take turns to use the generator. Why did the emperor take it out today? Li Linfu had a good eye. He stood up and showed an uncertain expression. He asked softly, "Your Majesty, could this be the legendary light bulb? Your Majesty is taking this small and exquisite thing. Did your Majesty make it yourself?" "Yes, it is a light bulb." "Not bad. Minister Li's eyesight is indeed good. You can see it with your eyes." Li Longji admired Li Linfu's attitude. He praised him and then shook his head. "It was not made by me. I was afraid of hurting you. I do not have the ability to blow out light bulbs, much less draw air. Your Majesty's health is important," Li Linfu added. Li Longji did not reply this time. He held the small light bulb in one hand and pointed at another item on the ground. He asked, "Do you know what this is?" "Ah. Could it be the legendary fish tank?" Li Linfu saw a box made of glass. It was not much different from a fish tank. The only difference was that there were no fish in the water. Instead, it was connected to wires. "No, guess again." Li Longji was like a child at this moment. "Your Majesty, please enlighten me. I really can't guess. I only know now that I am not as knowledgeable as your Majesty." Li Linfu asked in distress. This time, he was not talking nonsense. He really did not know. The other officials who were closer also saw the fish tank. They were also puzzled. Li Longji looked down and waved his hand, "Come forward. I will show you." The fifth-rank official who was the furthest looked at the people around him. When he saw someone move, he also moved forward. When he got closer, it was really like what Li Linfu said. It was a fish tank. There was no fish in it. When others were puzzled, Li Longji continued to the next step. He picked up 2 wires in the fish tank. One was wrapped around the bottom of the light bulb, and the other was placed on the smallest point. When the 2 wires were connected, the light bulb suddenly lit up. "Ah! Your Majesty, why did it light up?" Gao Lisher cooperated and exclaimed. His eyes were wide open, making people worry that his eyeballs would fall out at any time. Li Longji had an unfathomable expression on his face. He moved back and forth so that everyone could see clearly. After the officials were puzzled, he slowly said, "Don't you think it is very magical? There is no wind power, no water power, and no one is stepping on the generator. Your Majesty, why did it light up?" Zhang Jiuling walked forward and looked carefully. He still could not figure out the trick, so he asked humbly. "This is a good question. Why did it light up?" I believe that everyone has the same question in their hearts. This is the wet battery that I participated in the development of. With the battery, you will not have to work as hard as before. You can use the battery to light up the lamp anytime and anywhere. Li Longji pulled the wires away from the light bulb and pressed them back on. He repeated it a few times so that people could see clearly and happily introduced it. Your Majesty is indeed amazing. A fifth-rank official praised sincerely. Li Longji smiled and shook his head. Don't think that this is my original intention. If it can only light up the lamp, then it is nothing much. Look at the other thing. Putting down the light bulb, Li Longji pointed to the other thing in front of him. To be precise, there were two identical things in front of him. There was also a bundle of wires. This time, there was no need for others to cooperate with him. Li Longji took the initiative to introduce it. This is a cable telegraph machine. Someone will ask what this thing is for. Is it not? Some of the officials cursed in their hearts. Isn't this nonsense? Aren't you taking it out for others to see? Who wouldn't have such thoughts when they don't know? I will let you all know now. Men, carry the other one further away. Li Longji couldn't hear the thoughts of others, so he didn't have any evidence to convict them. With a command, a eunuch immediately came over and carried one of the two down the stairs. Only when the bundle of wires was used up did he stop and wait for further instructions. Another eunuch carried a fish tank over and stood to the side, looking at Li Longji. Li Longji looked around, and Gao Lisher hurriedly gestured to a nearby group of people. They were all wearing the same type of work uniform, and all of them were walking with their heads held high. However, if one looked carefully, they would notice that some of them were injured. When this group of people came closer, Li Longji waved his hand. One of them ran to the front, while another ran further away. Each of them took out a small notebook and a pencil. Li Longji looked at the doubtful gazes of his subjects and explained, the function of the telegraph machine is to send messages quickly. As soon as there is a movement, we will receive it immediately. The telegraph machine can communicate with each other over a certain distance depending on the length of the wire. The officials nodded to show that they understood. Even if they were doubtful, they didn't dare to show it. I know you all don't believe me, but that's fine. I will let you all understand. Minister Zhang, you say a few words and let this person pass the message. See if the other telegraph machine opposite can receive it. At such a distance, you can whisper a few words. They won't be able to hear you, right? Li Longji called out Zhang Shuo and asked him to speak. Zhang Shuo nodded, yes, I couldn't hear you. That place is more than 20 zhang away from here. Your Majesty asked me to say it, and I really did. Yes, I said that it would rain today. Send the report, Li Longji instructed the person who had just arrived. This person quickly took out a thicker book from his pocket and searched for something in it. Then, he used a pencil to write and draw on the book just now. Finally, he used his hand to press on a spot on the telegraph machine. Another person helped to connect the wires in the fish tank. The same thing happened on the other side. When everything was ready, the man began to press on that place. Beep. 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 A crisp sound rang out, and before long, the person raised his hand, indicating that he was done. The officials immediately turned their gazes back to the person below. They saw that the person had just finished writing in the book, then flipped open another thick book and began searching. A moment later, a person ran over from that direction and reported to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, the information has been received. The content is that it will rain today." Many of the officials were puzzled. They felt that it was very strange. How could the other side know what the message was after a few beeps? This was much more useful than the beacon tower. "Where else do you want to try?" The smile on Li Longji's face grew wider. "Your Majesty, I'm here." LV Yenzhua, who did not believe in heresy, stood up and whispered to the person who sent the report, "I don't believe it's true." "Send it." The person nodded and flipped through the book a few more times. After he finished writing and drawing, he began to press the button on the telegraph machine. Along with the beeping sound, the other side began to receive the message. After a very short time, a person ran over and said to the crowd, "Received. The content is that I don't believe it's true." LV Yenzhua was stunned. He raised his head and looked into the distance. After swallowing his saliva, he said to the emperor, "Your Majesty, this is amazing. If this thing is connected to all parts of the country, the speed at which it can send messages back and forth in the future is really unimaginable." Li Longji smiled and nodded. At this time, Zhang Shuo began to pour cold water on the emperor again. "Your Majesty, I don't think it's appropriate. How long would it take to connect the wires to all parts of the country? How many wires would it consume? This thing is of little value." Li Longji's happy mood changed again after Zhang Shuo's words. He glared at Zhang Shuo, meaning to say, "Why did you mention this?" Fortunately, he was already prepared. When he saw that some of the officials had the same thoughts, he coughed and said, "It's just an experiment. This is called a wired telegraph. Now, the Ministry of Works is researching on dry batteries and wireless telegraphy. When the research is completed, batteries will be more convenient to carry around and the telegraph machine will no longer need wires to connect. This won't be of little value, right? Your Majesty is wise." Gao Lisher chimed in. The expressions of the officials also changed. They naturally knew that if there was a portable battery and a telegraph machine that did not need wires to connect, how fast would the transmission of messages in the future be? However, this news came too suddenly. It was so sudden that they were not prepared at all. Yuan Qianyao said excitedly, "Your Majesty, when did the Tang Empire have such an advanced thing? According to what Your Majesty said, wouldn't it only take a blink of an eye to send a message from the farthest place to the capital? That might not be the case. I heard from Xiao Bao and Cuckoo that it would require a few transfers. Otherwise, the distance would not be enough. They could arrange for a special frequency band for the transfer of telegraphy." Advanced? Yes, it's considered advanced. At least, it's ahead of the neighboring countries. Without the hundreds of thousands of craftsmen in the Tang Empire, there wouldn't be today's advanced technology. They have sacrificed a lot. As Li Longji spoke, the happy expression on his face disappeared. He looked at the group of craftsmen standing a few steps away and introduced them to the officials. "These are the researchers of the battery and the telegraph, Lu Liang." "Your Majesty." As Li Longji called out the name, a person stood out. This person was still wrapped in a white cloth. The officials knew that he was injured. This was the classic packaging cloth used by Dei Hospital. Li Longji looked at Lu Liang with a gentle gaze. Lu Liang was very excited. He kept swallowing his saliva and his legs were trembling. "Roll up the sleeve of your right arm," Li Longji ordered. Lu Liang didn't dare to hesitate. He used his left hand to slowly roll up the right sleeve, revealing his arm. When the officials saw this, they all gasped at the same time. The arm was full of holes and the skin was already wrinkled. The arm was small and thin, as if it had been burned by fire. Lu Liang's arm was burned by sulfuric acid during his research. However, he still determined the ratio of sulfuric acid. Without his persistence, there wouldn't be the current wet battery. I confer upon him the title of founding count. Zhao Chen, step forward. Li Longji introduced Lu Liang and shouted to the crowd. A one-eyed man stood out. Your Majesty. This is Zhao Chen. He has been in charge of the production of the telegraph machine. During the welding process, one of his eyes was blinded. However, he still completed the initial task of welding the telegraph machine with one eye. I confer upon him the title of founding marquis. Zhao Gong, step forward. Zhao Gong is Zhao Chen's younger brother. He did experiments with his older brother. Originally, Zhao Gong was a high scholar. However, he gave up the opportunity to take the imperial examination and was willing to take over the heavy responsibility of his older brother. Zhang Yan. Li Longji called out the people one by one. Every time one of them was called out, he would tell them what they had done and reward them. There were a total of 32 people. When Li Longji introduced them, all of them puffed out their chests. Their eyes were filled with excitement. The officials also listened carefully. If it was in the past, there would have been people who would have stood out to oppose the emperor's rewards. However, today was an exception. They knew that the emperor's rewards were for the hundreds of thousands of craftsmen. The fact that the craftsmen, whom they had never paid much attention to in the past, were able to create such amazing things made them feel emotional. Li Longji squatted down and touched the telegraph machine. He said, I hope that all of you will know that the Tang Empire's craftsmen are not lowly. You will understand that while you are enjoying good things, there are people who are bleeding and sacrificing for them. Every item is filled with the blood and sweat of the Tang Empire's craftsmen. You must cherish them. I will remember. Gao Lisher was the first to speak. The other officials followed suit. Yes, please go back. The craftsmen are omnipotent. Remember to keep it a secret. Li Longji showed the officials the power of the craftsmen. When the morning court session resumed, the first thing he proposed was to allocate a large amount of money to the Ministry of Works. All the officials now understood that the emperor was doing this to clear the way for Zhang Zhong. If there was no telegraph machine, there would be people who would object to giving a large amount of money to the Ministry of Works for no reason. Now that they thought about the advanced tool that could send messages over long distances, there was no one who would not support it. It was too scary. They imagined that thousands of miles away, a person could tap on the telegraph machine, and the message would be sent to the capital immediately. After the same discussion, the message would be sent back. It was much faster than sending an urgent report from 800 miles away. Even a pigeon could not compare to it. In the face of disasters and war, the reaction time would be greatly reduced. It was even more amazing during war. Several armies could cooperate with each other at any time. What kind of enemy could not be defeated? While the others were feeling satisfied, Li Longji's mind was wandering to Jili province. When will Xiao Bao and Cuckoo be able to create a weapon that can fight from Luzhou to the capital? And intercept it? Beep, 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 beep. In a house on the north bank of the Mud River, Wang Wan was tapping on something. The sound of beeping could be heard from time to time. Zhang Xiaobao sat aside and looked at the map in his hand. He was lost in thought. After a while, he recovered and asked, "Is it done? When it's done, help me send a telegram. Just say, thank you for your hard work today. Is the road repaired? If it is, don't be anxious. Be steady and tell the others that we can proceed to the next step. When the next step is carried out, it will be the moment of our victory. As for this, Comrade Zhang Xiaobao, this is sending a telegram, not making a phone call. Jianjie, do you understand? Wang Wan was about to translate it into code when she heard Zhang Xiaobao talking a lot of nonsense. She stopped what she was doing and complained with dissatisfaction. Oh, you just thought of it. Make a call. Lu Cheng will do it. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and reduced the pile of words just now into 5 words. Isn't it done? Do you think Li Longji will find out that the thing we used is more advanced than what he saw? And then scold him. Wang Wan had some basic knowledge of telegrams. She quickly sent the message. If Li Longji saw the telegram she used, he would definitely scold them for keeping it to themselves. There was no fish tank beside the telegram. Instead, it was a block-like thing that provided power to the telegram. At the same time, the telegram didn't have any wires connected to other places. It only had an antenna that extended out. This was the dry battery and wireless telegram he was looking forward to making in the future. He didn't expect that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had already used it. Zhang Xiaobao said uncertainly, I don't think so. Can't he scold him or can't he find out? Wang Wan asked again. As long as he can't find out, he won't scold us, Zhang Xiaobao answered. In other words, you're pinning the consequences on the former. That's right. If he really finds out about this, he'll probably make things difficult for us. This is something that's very different from telegrams. It's a product that transcends time and uses electromagnetic technology. In the future, we can make a radio station and use a thin box to receive the signal. This is the people's radio station. What we're broadcasting right now is whether the great Tang Emperor, Li Longji, will be angry if he finds out about this technology and he wasn't the first to see it. Dear listeners, you can write a letter and send it to, alright, stop joking around. You still want to be angry. Based on his personality in the past, you should be beheaded for this crime. You should find 10,000 people to watch and then eat a steamed bun dipped in blood to treat tuberculosis. Can't we use Remy's seal to treat tuberculosis? Those people in the medical school are too lame. They haven't developed it yet. It's the same for antibiotics. At the very least, they should have developed penicillin first so that it can be used to treat diseases. At this rate, when will they be able to perform heart bypass surgery? Zhang Xiaobao began to complain about the medical school's research speed. Wang Wan said disapprovingly, you think it's a game where you can be as fast as you want. That's a problem with the system. Heart bypass surgery. Why don't you talk about changing the DNA? That way, humans won't have to worry about breathing. They can absorb the Reiki between heaven and earth and fly freely in the universe. That's fine. This is a new topic in the medical school. It's best to first demonstrate it from the 5 elements and the balance of yin and yang in Chinese medicine. Sigh, we have to go back. We'll be assassinated tomorrow. Zhang Xiaobao followed Wang Wan's words for a while and then remembered the serious matter. Tomorrow. Isn't it earlier tomorrow? Let's wait until the rivers start to connect. Otherwise, it's easy to cause problems. Wang Wan thought for a while and gave her opinion. I'll listen to you. It's late. Madam, why don't we go to sleep? Zhang Xiaobao said with a yearning look. If you dare to touch me while I'm asleep again, I'll chop off your perverted pig hand. You're the one who put it on me. Then I'll chop it off too. After receiving the young master and young lady's orders, the construction workers worked much faster. They didn't stop at night. They lit torches and continued to instruct the people of Xinluo to work hard to build the road. During this period of time, the road on the side of Xinluo was about to be paved. The place where the tariffs were collected was also built. Anyone who paid the tariffs would be let through when they passed through this road. Those who didn't pay would be blocked on the other side. The merchants of Shinlua were looking forward to the benefits they would receive after the arrival of the tariffs. The members of the royal family of Shinlua were also looking forward to using the money to build the place. Another 2 days passed. The last section of the road was being watered. When it was dry, the moisturizing grass mats on it were taken away. The road could be extended to the farthest place. Another day, Li Dong listened to the sound of firecrackers and stood happily at the place where the tariffs were collected. He waited for the Tang Empire's caravan to take the initiative to send the money. The people sent to the Tang Empire sent back information that there was already a large caravan coming. And Li said that they would arrive last night, but they didn't expect that they still hadn't arrived. While waiting anxiously, the sun reached the middle of the sky. Just when Li Dong and the other merchants of Shinlua thought that the Tang Empire's caravan would not come today, a large amount of dust was blown up by the wind on the distant path. "They're here, they're here. Get ready. When you check the goods later, you have to be serious. You can't charge more or less. 20% of the tariff. Remember." Li Dong saw the approaching caravan and hurriedly instructed the person in charge of collecting the Tang Empire's tariffs. The group of people answered in unison. Their eyes were fixed on the caravan, and their minds were filled with the sound of money. The more anxious they were, the slower time passed. Just when Li Dong and the others couldn't wait any longer, the caravan finally slowly arrived at the customs. They looked at the people in front of them blankly, as if they didn't know the situation. Li Dong, the main leader, knew that it was time for him to go on stage. He took 2 steps forward and asked the caravan, "Where is your boss?" According to the agreement between Shinlua and the Tang Empire, when you sell goods in Shinlua, you have to pay 20% of the tariff, which is 20%. You can pass after paying the money. When did this happen? 20%. That's too much. A while after Li Dong finished speaking, a person stood out from the caravan and asked in confusion. "Not long ago. It was proposed by that Zhang Xiaobao from your Tang Empire. 20% isn't much. Don't you know how much your goods can be sold for in Shinlua? If you can't pay, you can use 20% of the goods as a substitute." As Li Dong said this, he had other thoughts in mind. He didn't need to treat the merchants who came with a good attitude. As long as they had any questions, they would immediately push the blame to Zhang Xiaobao, causing the conflict between Zhang Xiaobao and the other merchants to worsen. The people in the caravan clearly felt that it was too much. That person asked again, "What if you don't pay?" "If you don't pay, you can't go over here." Li Dong was not anxious at all. "Then it's not too much. Let's go back." The leader of the caravan was even more straightforward. With a wave of his hand, the caravan turned around and left at a speed many times faster than when they came. Li Dong looked at the caravan that was gradually disappearing from his sight. He wanted to stop them, but he realized that they were on the land of the Tang Empire. He was not qualified to do so. After the last wisp of smoke disappeared, Li Dong gritted his teeth and said gloomily, "This group of merchants from the Tang Empire is treacherous, stingy. Watch them carefully in case they sneak over under the cover of the night." The equally disappointed Shinlua people were also furious. They agreed to Li Dong's words and swore to guard this place well. They would not give the merchants of the Tang Empire any chance. This wait lasted until nightfall. The moon hung high in the sky, and the stars around it dimmed due to the lack of one side of the moon. Li Dong, who still insisted on not sleeping, kept dozing off. He drank cup after cup of tea, but it didn't seem to have any effect. His eyelids kept closing. Just as he was about to fall asleep, a person rushed in from outside and reported anxiously, "Boss Li, bad news. The Tang Empire's caravan has bypassed us and entered Shinloa from another place. What? They went in. Why didn't they stop them? What Li Dong was worried about had finally happened. The merchants did not care about the system. If they could pay less, they would definitely not pay more. We did, but the place is too big, and we don't have enough manpower. The Tang Empire's caravan is divided into countless small teams, coming to Shinloa from all directions. Those who were stopped by us said that they had taken the wrong path in the dark and turned around to go back. We sent out more than 100 people to stop 30 small teams, but looking at the scale, there should be 70% of the Tang Empire's caravan that was not stopped. That means that 70% of the goods entered Shinloa. The person who came had a dejected look on his face. He seemed to be complaining about the Tang Empire and also seemed to be complaining about the lack of manpower on his side. Hearing the words of the person who came, Li Dong's brows furrowed deeply, forming the character Chuan above his nose. He looked at the people waiting there and asked, "Brothers, do you have any good ideas?" "Yes, one is to send more people. If we want to completely block the land route, we need at least 5,000 people who are familiar with this place," the person replied. Li Dong looked at a place and did not move. After a while, he said, "All right, then we'll discuss with others tomorrow. Send 5,000 people out to stop the Tang Empire's caravan. We can't let them pass so easily. Otherwise, who will pay?" "Yes." The person agreed and left in a hurry. The next day, it was noon again. The weather was so hot that it made people feel stuffy. Fortunately, another team from the Tang Empire arrived at the place and also asked about the tax. Like the previous team, they turned around and left. The 5,000 people that Shinloa had found with great difficulty were divided into different places according to the distance. They waited for the Tang Empire's people to secretly come over at night so that they could block them. But this time, they did not wait for the sky to completely turn dark. Just as the sun set, someone ran over to look for Li Dong. "Boss Li, it's not good. The merchants of the Tang Empire have crossed the narrow mud river. They actually brought a rubber raft. They must have been prepared. Boss Li, quickly think of a way." Li Dong was completely dumbfounded. He could still send 5,000 people to block the land route, but if the water route was also included, then not to mention 5,000 people, even 50,000 people would not be able to block it. The place was too big. There were many places in the mud river that were relatively narrow. It was very easy to cross it. Could it be that the tariff really could not be collected? Then what was the use of this place? He had even spent 1,000,000 strings of coins. Was it all for nothing? The more he thought about it, the more uncomfortable he felt. Li Dong really had no idea this time. He went to the 3rd floor of Changfeng Pavilion again and found the other merchants to discuss, hoping that someone could come up with a better idea. From what Boss Li means, the land route connecting Shinloa and the Tang Empire is too wide, and there are many narrow places in the two rivers. Then can we think of a way to make the river wider so that their rubber raft can't cross it easily, and then make the connecting place narrower from the road? A merchant in a partnership thought of the crux of the problem and suggested an idea. The other merchants also nodded in agreement. Then how should we make the river wider and the land route narrower? Li Dong muttered as he tried his best to think of an idea. The other merchants were also thinking about this problem. Suddenly, a merchant's eyes lit up and he said excitedly, "I thought of a good idea. That is to connect the two rivers. This way, the flow of water will increase and naturally make the river wider. Moreover, once the protruding land that was not submerged by the water is submerged, it will form a reef and it will be very easy for something to happen. Then, we can find a place, such as where our road connects, and build a bridge there. Let the merchants from the Tang Empire pass through the bridge. This way, it will be difficult for them to take a detour. If a few boats capsize, they will lose more than just 20% of the tariff. The value of the goods transported to Shinloa is quite a lot. In addition to the human lives, I think we can solve this problem. That's right. Another merchant slapped his thigh in agreement. Suddenly, he revealed a confused expression and said, "Why does this idea sound so familiar to me?" Li Dong's thoughts were faster and he said, "Of course it's familiar. That was the idea that Zhang Xiaobao first suggested. Wasn't it messed up by the people we hired? We even had a lot of fights with the people we hired. Zhang Xiaobao, oh Zhang Xiaobao, you're good. I understand. This is a way to connect the rivers. I'm impressed. You made us clearly know that, but we still have to do it. If we don't do it, we won't have 20% of the tariff. The higher-ups can't bear the pressure anymore. We also have a lot of money." The other merchants were not stupid. They immediately understood and looked at each other. They could see deep worry in each other's eyes. This Zhang Xiaobao had finally met him. If they did not have direct contact with him, they would not be able to understand his abilities. After going around in a big circle, the rivers that should be connected had been connected, and the bridges that should be repaired still needed to be repaired. Li Dong sighed helplessly. "Let's discuss it with Xinjiang Construction Group's Zhang Tai. I'll have someone deliver the letter tomorrow. Everyone, remember to be careful. Whatever Zhang Xiaobao brings up next time, we must consider it carefully. Don't be fooled again. I finally understand why Li Longji sent him here. He's a smart man." Everyone nodded in agreement. The news that Shinloa wanted to cooperate with the Tang Empire to connect the two rivers and repair the bridge quickly spread to the Tang Empire's Chang'an. During the morning court session, Li Longji was in the middle of a discussion with the officials about how more merchants would be sent overseas to explore new places in the future, and how they would be charged for bringing good goods back to the Great Tang, when Gao Lishur was sent by a young eunuch to collect a letter. After reading the letter from Gao Lishur, who left and returned in a hurry, Li Longji was stunned for a while. Then, he suddenly burst out laughing, "Ha ha ha ha, Xiaobao, oh Xiaobao, you really didn't disappoint me. You went around in circles and used the same method to deal with me on Shinluo. Good, I'm very relieved. Come, let the officials take a look." The matters discussed earlier in the morning court were put on hold, and the letter was first delivered to Zhang Shuo. His position was the highest, so after he finished reading the letter that did not have too many words and passed it on to the next person, Zhang Shuo fell silent. He had an impulse to overturn the method he had just proposed. When they were talking about collecting the goods tax from the merchants who returned from the sea, he suggested that Lu Zhou's coastal patrol team be placed in the hands of the imperial court instead of Lu Zhou. In other words, he was taking back the power of the Zhang family and the Wang family in disguise. That was a team to make money. Whoever controlled it could get both power and money. There would definitely be many people begging to do things for them. However, after reading the contents of the letter from Jili province, he was a little afraid that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would find out about his proposal. With Zhang Xiaobao's scheming, would the consequences be unbearable if they spent a little effort on him? The officials read the letter one by one. Each of them had a different expression after reading it. Some were nervous, some were relieved, some were confused, and some were deep in thought. When the letter was passed around and returned to Gao Lishur, the officials had different opinions about the ownership of Lu Zhou's coastal patrol team. Li Longji was still excited. He said to his officials, "Xiao Bao is really reassuring. If all the local officials are as good as him, what else do I have to worry about? Unfortunately, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are only a pair. It's hard to find them. Let's wait until Xiao Bei and the others are older." Where was I just now? Minister Zhang said that he wants to take back control of the coastal patrol team. What are you going to do? Li Longji sighed. Then, he remembered what happened just now. He looked at Zhang Shuo and asked. Zhang Shuo smacked his lips. He looked at the row of people who were looking at him with a gloating expression and replied calmly, Your Majesty, I've thought about it again. I still don't know enough about Lu Zhou's place. Why don't we send more people there to have a look and learn? After that, we can discuss it again so that we don't make any mistakes in our haste. Oh. You're not in a hurry to take it back. What do the others think? Li Longji asked deliberately. He did not want the head of the secretariat to meddle too much. That would give him too much power. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were more reassuring. I agree. The person who spoke up for Zhang Shuo earlier quickly changed his mind at this moment. With his words, the others did not want to offend Zhang Xiaobao who had just schemed against Xian Luo. They all agreed, You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.